That was the last time I was sick. Other than that vomiting episode for 24 hours, but that doesn't really count. I think that was food poisoning.
Vomiting doesn't count.
I think it was food poisoning.
Well, if it was only coming out of one end, you might not have been food poisoning.
No, it came out of everywhere.
Well, that's our cold open.
Ew. Why? Why would you do that?
I just want to imagine, like, coming out of your ears and your eyes. And
Oh, I mean, like the time that I puked and cheese came out of my nose? Yes.
What? Hello, and welcome to Book Retorts. I'm Sam.
I'm Danielle.
And this is the podcast about sharing your weird media with your friends.
Yay!
You should be excited, Danielle, because I have something extra special for you today. A very weird movie called The Librarian, Return to King Solomon's Mine.
You brought back The Librarian?
I brought back The Librarian, Danielle. I was hoping I would have a chance to do that, and nothing felt more like a palate cleanser after two really long and somewhat involved stories than this light and fluffy appetizer of a movie.
Does this require any prior knowledge of the previous Librarian spear quest for the spear questing spears?
Practically no. However, I'm still going to make you recap the previous one in lieu of a summary.
Literally no way, Sam. It's been months.
I know, Danielle, but let's see what you remember about the Librarian Quest for the Spear.
Oh, gosh.
The first of the Librarian trilogy. I think there's a trilogy, and there's a TV show. We might get through all of it. Who knows?
Okay, so Noah Wyle, star
Yes.
of the show.
Which show?
The Librarian.
Yeah, but what else?
Yar.
There you go.
And among many other things. I
Sure.
apologize, Noah Wyle, for not knowing everything you've ever been in.
Do you remember his actual name in the movie?
Cameron.
That will not fly.
It's not Noah.
No, it's Flynn.
Oh, Flynn, of course.
Yeah.
He's like a professor or something.
No, quite the opposite.
A student. He's a student that goes to who has 27,000 degrees.
22, you're very close.
Oh, and it opens with something Egyptian-y going on, right?
Right, so he's at some museum, probably the Natural History Museum in New York or something.
And they're building a thing that's supposed to harness the power of the
No.
moon. I don't know.
Well, I mean, yes, that eventually happened, but they're there because there's a replica pyramid built with stones from the Great Pyramids of Giza, like a miniature version of one.
And he's there with all the students, and he's showing up the professors, right?
And I was there with the professor, and the professor's like, Flynn, I'm graduating you early because you gotta stop. You gotta go out there and live your life. I don't know why they have the authority to do that, but apparently he just basically kicks him out of school.
And he's like, no, I wanted my 23rd degree.
He's basically a perpetual student because he has no idea what to do with his life post-school.
And he apparently has unlimited money.
Yeah, apparently, unlimited money. He's only 30 and somehow has spent, I mean, if we take it in, he has like 5 PhDs or whatever. That's what, 30 years of work? So somehow he's been doing that since he was 2 at the latest.
But it doesn't really matter because cruising along, he finds a letter in his books or something.
Yeah, back at home, he gets this weird letter.
Invites him to the library.
To apply for a job at the library, yes.
And it's like a magic job. It's not a real library job.
No, apparently this is basically Indiana Jones, the librarian.
And so he shows up, and there's like a whole long line, and it's a weird interview process, and that one dude is there, but he gets the job.
All right, let's back up for a second.
Was that really important, Sam?
Bob Newhart is a treasure.
Sorry, Bob Newhart.
And Jane Curtin is there too?
Yes, of course, Jane.
Jane, you know what I'm talking about, do you?
No, I'm sure I'd recognize them if I
She
saw
was
them.
Dr. Mary Malone from Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh, of course. Anyway, she's there. So is Bob Newhart. Bob Newhart's like the spooky old librarian who pops in
He's
and out
Judson.
of time. Yeah.
Yes. He's a magic Bob Newhart.
And they tell him that he's now in charge of all of the magic stuff that's in the library.
Yes, the bowels, the vault, the warehouse of the library, which has magical items and also just the Mona Lisa.
And a unicorn.
A unicorn. Yeah, I forgot about the unicorn, Danielle. Thank you.
You're welcome. lock of it seemed vitally important to the plot.
It's not, but it's there.
And so it's not like an actual library. It's a library full of antiquities.
It's a museum. It's a vault. It's Warehouse 13. But for some reason, they really want to be about a librarian instead of literally anything else.
Yeah, they didn't want him to be like the museum keeper or something.
Right, which would make way more sense. A curator or something.
Yeah, I guess they could have called it the curator, but they didn't.
Right? But it sounds kind of evil. Like the curator is totally a villain.
But it's fine because sometimes librarians are evil because apparently there's a splinter faction of old librarians who come back to try and kill him because they're trying to steal.
No, they don't try to kill him. They steal the spear.
They do try and kill him at one point, Sam.
Well, later, but that's not why they're coming back. They're coming back to steal the spear.
Apparently they didn't change any of the locks after the last librarian left, and he sneaks in and steals the spear.
Oh, a piece of it.
A piece of it, that's right, because there's 3 parts of it, and they have to go on some kind of epic journey to get the other parts because they're trying to like keep it from them. But the stupid thing is that if they hadn't gone on the trip to get the other 2 parts, then they never would have gotten the other 2 parts.
Right. The only way that the other 2 parts are retrieved from their mystical hiding places in Shangri-La and an Aztec temple of some kind is by Flynn translating a book that has the language of the birds in it that no one else in the universe can translate and somehow get into Shangri-La. I forget how that happened. But anyway, if he hadn't done that and thus retrieved the 2 pieces, they couldn't have been stolen from him by the evil people.
Yes, if they just stayed home, the evil plan would never have worked.
Because there was a ticking clock where they had to assemble the pieces and get them back to the capstone in the pyramid that was being assembled in a museum by the time the special moon happened so they could get all the power unlocked. I don't really open a portal or something. I don't remember the exact details.
Yeah, the portal was very sketchy. I remember that. It didn't really make a lot of sense. But then Noah Wyle wins in the end. The end.
Yeah. Do you remember what his sexy companion was?
Oh, yeah. There was like a whole love interest, but she was evil, but she wasn't, but she was.
But she wasn't.
But she wasn't.
So Nicole, his sexy love interest, was never evil. She was like assigned to him as like she's the bodyguard of the librarian. And she had been in love with the previous librarian, the one who turned evil, and therefore was like, never will I fall in love with the librarian again.
That's right.
And then she does.
But did she die?
No, she's fine.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
She comes at the very end riding a motorcycle and wicks them off to another adventure.
Oh, that's right. I think I'm combining multiple stories.
There is the evil lady in leather who also seems to have the hots for Flynn.
Oh, yeah,
and that's probably the best part of the movie is her just being like, he's our enemy, but he's pretty hot, so let's go for it.
We were rooting for her, but sadly, he ended up with the other girl.
Yeah, I know. She was way better.
Okay, the end, Sam. They all live happily ever after.
Only a few details I'd like to share.
Okay.
No, just general things that would be relevant in the upcoming movie.
Okay.
1, Flynn's mother is interminable. she's a busybody who's always trying to set him up on dates and trying to get him married.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think we should all be impressed with how well I remembered that plot.
I'm certainly better than I expected, Danielle, honestly.
Good job, Danielle. You were on top of it today.
I think you're so self-deprecating, so you always look better than what expectations are.
I mean, to be fair. That's a great way to live your life. You're always impressed with yourself.
So, also, this movie is very goofy. Like, it's obviously very tongue-in-cheek. It aired on TNT, and they always have these little gags and puns, especially when Bob Newhart's on screen. He's always throwing out little one-liners, which I think is actually pretty fun.
Is he back in this one?
Oh, Danielle, we're going to get to all this.
Okay, let's do it.
So, 2 years later, they made a sequel called The Librarian, Return to King Solomon's Mines. This is from 2006.
Is it 2 years later in the story, too?
I don't know the exact timeline. It's
okay.
Unclear. I forget how old he was in the original. I do know he is 32 in this one, so it might actually match up.
Okay.
And this one was directed by the venerable number 1 himself, Jonathan Frakes.
Yay, Jonathan, you go.
And I feel kind of bad for Mr. Frakes because I gotta say, this one is a much worse movie. And I don't think it's necessarily the directing. Like, the characters and the actors are all doing what they're supposed to be doing, and it's all being done well. But boy, we'll get into it. The story is boring.
Aw, that's so sad.
And everything is very nonsensical.
On the plus side, they probably made a ton of money off of that, so it's okay.
Oh, sure. They made, like I said, I think they made another movie after this and a full TV series, like at least 1 or 2 seasons of a TV series. So it wasn't suffering for lack of success.
It's a solid made-for-TV movie, Sam.
Yeah. I certainly had fun watching it. If you try not to think about it, like I had to write my notes for this podcast, it's like a good turn your brain off and enjoy the quips kind of movie.
Perfect.
So we open with vaguely adventurous sounding music. that actually sounds kind of like a Western music, like a Western movie with like fiddles and everything, which I think is hilarious because we're in the desert. We open with a long-haired dude. He's in the desert in a leather trench coat, which continues this movie's proud tradition of having people dressed entirely inappropriately for the area they're in.
That's right. They were all in their weird like biker gear or something when they were in the jungle last time.
Yeah, it was so good. All the bad guys in the movie always dress in like biker leather or whatever while they're in the jungles or deserts. I'm like, that can't be comfortable.
It would be so uncomfortable.
I love it. It's a choice I respect. Like, we're going to make the evil people dress like they're in Street Fighter all the time. I love it.
They're committed.
So this long-haired dude, he pulls a skull out of the ground saying, after all these years of searching, the skull is mine!
I'm sorry, you cut out on Skype. Could you do that again?
No. He kisses it, and it starts glowing as he laughs evilly. So we're really getting a sense of what this movie's going to be like already. And
I would like to assume that they have to kiss the skull in order for it to work.
I have no clue, Danielle. It just starts glowing when he kisses it.
I feel like if I had a cursed skull, I would definitely make people like make out with it before it would glow.
I mean, that would be like a fun, like if I was making an object that's like, yes, to activate my magic device, my gauntlet of ultimate power, you must first make out with your hand. Practice kissing with a little tongue. That'd be exactly what I would do. Just mess with people.
We shouldn't be in charge of magical things.
We shouldn't be in charge of anything, Danielle. I think it's abundantly clear.
If you don't believe us, listeners, please listen to any of the past episodes.
Or just like keep a track of how well we're doing with this podcast in general. Like, we're in charge of it. Like, give that a thought.
I think that they should specifically listen to I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, because if you still think Sam should be in charge of anything after his serial killer run, you may need help. I maintain
that would be a serial killer movie that people would watch. A Day in the Life of a Serial Killer? Come on. Anyway, that's a different podcast episode. Today we're focusing on this non-murdery one. Well, maybe a little murdery. We'll get to that. So, over yonder, Flynn is watching from up on a cliff, like hiding behind a rock. He also has this Tonto-looking guy with him, whose name I don't think I remember, or I think I've heard it once, and he disappears after the scene, so he doesn't really
Not important, apparently.
No. And he points out to his friend, he's like, hey, do you see that? That's the crystal skull. No, not that crystal skull. That came out later and was much worse. So, dodged a bullet there. But he's like, that's a crystal skull from Atlantis.
Do you think Indiana Jones stole the crystal skull from the librarian?
I mean, no, because it was much dumber than Indiana Jones what that crystal skull is. Yeah, because the crystal skull in this movie is a clairvoyant object. Like, it is something that it tells the future somehow. And this makes it extremely dangerous. Like, Flynn's like, oh, it's so dangerous. You can destroy the world with that skull. It's incredibly deadly. And they're like, it tells the future. How's that incredibly deadly? I mean, yeah, you can manipulate the stock market or do like a Biff Tannen kind of thing, but I don't understand how that like causes death just to have the ability to see the future.
Well, if you knew all the moves of your enemies, you could murder them.
Sure. But like, that doesn't make it a weapon that's any more dangerous than the weapon you have to actually use to kill them.
I guess.
The point is, they're trying to up the stakes on this crystal skull, and I'm not buying it.
Do they have to make out with it first to activate its powers?
I mean, I don't know, but I'm going to assume so, because that's much more fun.
Well, that's immediately what happened, and I can only assume he kissed it because it has to activate
his
clairvoyant.
Kiss on the forehead, Danielle, it's fine. He gave it like an affectionate fatherly kiss.
Okay.
All right, so Flynn insists on climbing down into the canyon where the people are digging and handling himself, even though his friend's like, hey, there are 6 armed guys there and we are unarmed. This is a bad idea. And Flynn's like, nah, I do this kind of stuff all the time. It's totally fine.
He does, though.
Yeah. So they sneak around the bushes, and the evil guy had put the skull down on a rock. Just like set one down to, okay, put the skull there. Hey guys, come on, let's go seal up this cave.
What? Yeah, he gets a magical artifact and just sets it down and walks off.
Yeah, he does, Danielle. That was exactly like, you found this magical object that clearly you were excited enough to go mine about, and you just set it down, turn your back on it, walk away with your 6 dudes to talk about dynamiting, I don't know, this dig site that is, why does it need to be dynamited? Who cares?
I thought they always had like messenger bags or backpacks to stick them in.
This guy's like, this rock is fine.
That is deeply concerning.
Well, of course, Flynn and his friends sneak up and snatch the skull and put it in his bag.
They deserve that.
Yeah, exactly. But as they're sneaking away, Flynn gets distracted. He sees what looks like an authentic Sioux arrowhead in the rock, which is way further west in Utah than the Sioux were supposed to have been.
Oh my gosh, priorities, Flynn. Priorities.
No, his priority is this arrowhead. So his friend's like, Flynn, there are 6 armed dudes here. Let's get out of here. You have this. Goes like, no, let me grab this arrowhead. And so he like starts trying to chip it out of the rock, and it like cracks. The rock falls, makes a bunch of noise. Immediately spotted.
Yeah, he deserved that too. See? What the heck?
They've really made Flynn a moron in this movie. Like, they've turned him from super genius, who's something of an annoying know-it-all, to an annoying know-it-all who's also just a moron.
That's a fun combination.
Yeah, I know, it's great. So a chase ensues with Flynn and his friend. They get on some horses, start riding away, and the bad guys shoot them and miss because they're stormtroopers, and then they chase them on dirt bikes, because apparently dirt bikes are better than horses in Utah desert, which is probably true, but yet they still don't catch up to the horses.
I mean, horses can run fairly fast. I don't know if they're faster than dirt bikes.
I guarantee they're not. Especially over, like, off-road rough terrain. Like, they can't go flat out over dirt and rocks and brush. But Flynn and his friend, they navigate the horses off the road through some rocks, and the dirt bikes apparently not be able to drive around the small pile of rocks crash, like some of them do. And then they ride off, and they have to pull up short because there's a cliff. Oh no, they're trapped.
The horse riders?
Yeah, Flynn and his friend. And then Flynn's like, oh wait, there's a tamarisk trunk over there, and it's March. So when I tell you, let's jump. And everyone's like, what? And he's like, just trust me. No time to explain. Like, there's time to explain. You can tell them what you're doing, but no. So they go and they jump off the cliffs and they land in a river that was just underneath the cliff. And I don't understand why the nonsense about March and the tamarisk trunks were necessary if you could just look over the cliff and see the river. Like, you're on a horseback on the edge of a cliff. You can see down. Like, the river would be obvious from the top of the cliff.
I'd also like to point out that just because there's a river beneath the cliff doesn't mean you should jump into it there.
Yeah, so I think Flynn's just showing off, but as they come out of the river, his friend's like, hey, how do you know that would be okay? He's like, well, I know that in March, the average depth of water in Utah is 5 feet. That's the average water depth. I'm like, wait a minute. Sure, that doesn't mean that where you're jumping into, as you said, is going to be at least 5 feet deep. You're just taking a gamble.
Yeah, well, I mean, they didn't have many options, but still.
Yeah. And then his friend's like, yo, it's April, not March. And then Flynn's like, it's April. We should have been flattened like pancakes. And does the water level change that dramatically, like a month in Utah? I don't know. It all just seems very like BS-y to me.
It depends on how dry it is, Sam.
Right, but like, I don't think if it goes from like March 31st to April 1st, suddenly it's going to be all dried up.
Sure. I doubt a couple of days would probably make a difference.
Anyway, the movie doesn't seem to care about this. Neither do we, because that scene's over and we never see any of those characters again.
Well, it was nice to know them.
Was it, Danielle? Was it nice to know them?
I mean, maybe. Do they come back in the third movie?
I really hope so, because I really enjoyed Skull Makeout Dude's enthusiasm.
He doesn't even come back?
No, none of them. Everyone in this scene is irrelevant except for Flynn.
I really kind of thought that guy was going to like chase after him for the skull.
Nope. Danielle, the skull is also irrelevant.
Why?
This is like, again, this movie wants to be Indiana Jones so hard. This is the golden idol in the opening of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And then immediately it's on to the next artifact. Like, it's just a setup for him.
It was very perplexing. Why did you get me all involved in all these characters if they're not going to come back, Sam?
I have to do what the movie did to me. That's just what we're here for, to keep the cycle of abuse going.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Moving on. Let's get to the actual plot.
Yeah, whatever. The movie doesn't care about them. And it cuts to Cairo, Egypt. Same day? Different day? Who knows?
I'm going to assume it's the same day and they use some kind of transport spell.
Well, it's not Flynn. It's some random bald dude who's being chased by a group of bad guys. At least I assume they're bad guys, because usually if there's one guy being chased by the other guys, they're the bad guys. Although in real life, I'm not sure I'd actually have that same logic. Like, maybe he's a murderer or something. I don't know.
Or like, technically Aladdin's the good guy, but he really did just steal and they're chasing after him.
Exactly. Like, to be fair, I'm not saying it's right, but they are enforcing law and order. Not to say that that's a good thing, that the society structure is in any way healthy, but like, now we're just getting to more relativism. We don't have time for this.
There's an argument for both sides is what we're saying.
Oh, boy. Okay. Let's not...
I'm kidding.
I'm going to move on. We are not the nuanced podcast to handle this topic.
So they're probably bad guys, is what we've decided.
I mean, they're obviously coded as bad guys in movie terms, is all I'm going to say.
Yes, I agree.
So the bald man, the bad guy's also bald, but I'm going to call him the bald bad guy instead of the bald good guy, just because I don't remember his name. And you don't learn his name until like 70% of the way through the movie.
I love when movies do that.
So the good bald guy, he stops some random child and gives him a little packet and some money and says, take this to the post office. And I'm like, if it's a really important thing, that's a good way to lose both your money and a package.
It is, because the kid would probably open it and take whatever's inside.
Well, yeah, just like, you're not saying, hey, mail this and I'll give you money. You're saying, here's the money. I've already prepaid you for this service to mail this thing. There's no guarantee he's going to do it. Like, you don't know this kid. You don't know. He doesn't know you. He has no obligation to help you. He never even agrees to it. He just says, here's some stuff and money, go. And the kid's like, and the bald guy runs away.
Yeah, he's supposed to give him like twice the amount if he comes back to prove that he did it.
Yeah, but don't worry. That's not going to be a problem because as the bald guy is running away, he crosses the street and is immediately struck by a Jeep.
Oh, dear.
And flung into a stall. And as he lies there dying, he whispers to the bald bad guy who grabs him around the shirt, the secret shall be passed. And then the bald bad guy says, whatever you have done with it, I will find it. And that's the end of that scene.
Will he? I feel like that'd be the end of it in real life. You'd never find it.
Oh, he absolutely finds it. How?
Of course
Don't
he
ask
does, because
questions.
it's a movie.
Yeah. So we cut back to the library that's in New York. And I forgot for a moment if it was in New York or not. It is established later, but yeah, New York.
Okay, good to know.
I mean, the movie just assumes that, like, it's a location, it's a city. It doesn't really matter which one.
Well, to be fair, most city locations in movies are either Chicago or New York.
That is fair.
You have a 50-50 chance of being correct.
So at the library, Flynn returns where the administrator, Charlene, is all like, you're 1.2 minutes late. I'll deduct that from your pay. And she doesn't, like, say that in a fun, joking way. She's deadly serious, which makes this, like, a miserable place to work. Like, I would be like, 1.2 minutes? Are you really going to, like, bill me by the minute here? No.
The best part would be like, whatever, 3 cents or something. Like, it's not going to be that much money.
I don't know, unless they're paying them some astronomical amount of money, it's not that big a deal. And it would just be like, it feels like she's just doing it as a power trip, and it would just be a miserable working experience.
Absolutely.
She tells him that Judson, Bob Newhart, is downstairs looking for him. And then Flynn notices a statue being wheeled through the lobby, like, oh, did we get a new statue? And Charlene's like, oh no, that's one of our other, guards who got turned to stone after he looked at Medusa's face. And then Flynn quips about like, oh, does health insurance cover that? And this sounds like a terrible place to work since nobody seems to have any sympathy for the man who's just murdered by one of the artifacts left carelessly around.
Well, maybe they can cure him, but I also have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So he's paid hourly?
I have no idea, Danielle.
That is a terrible system for somebody who has to be pretty much around 24/7 to like guard this thing and goes on to like plane trips and travels. Like they must be paying him $800,000 a year hourly.
I don't know how it would work, Danielle, because she says I'm going to deduct 1.2 minutes from your pay, but if he's exempt, so not paid hourly, who's salaried, you can't deduct hourly money. You can't bill someone hourly, right? There's no way to do that.
There's no way that job is not salaried. There's no way.
And yet she acts like she could deduct minutes from his pay as if it was being paid on some kind of time scale instead of by a salary.
Yeah, that's absurd. There's no way that job would be an hourly pay. Never in a million years. They'd waste so much money.
It doesn't make any sense. And she's all like, you gotta save your receipts, you gotta itemize your receipts so we can, pay your travel expenses. So like, she's treating this like a serious business, even though she's like treating the librarian who goes on these months-long, presumably business trips, adventures, as an hourly employee, which I don't understand.
I'm going to argue that, of course, he has to save receipts. This is like a government-sponsored job, essentially, but he definitely would be salaried.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense.
That's absurd. Sorry, you should have been in my head while you were talking, and I was going, wait a minute.
No, it's not intense. So she then dresses down Flynn, saying like, hey, this is a place of business. Don't have your personal mail delivered here. And gives him a package and also tells him, hey, your mom called. She wants you to come by tonight. And he's like, great, thanks. And he takes the package, which has just arrived from Egypt. How coincidental.
It couldn't possibly be the thing that the kid sent, because the kid definitely didn't send it.
I would not have sent that either. I could be honest. If someone approached me on the street here and said, here's a package and some money, will you mail this? I'd be like, oh, this is drugs. Or something. Like, there's no way I would just go like, yep, you got it, stranger. So Flynn heads down to the secret library room, which is still guarded by one dude and a bookshelf where you pull a random book, well, a very specific book, and it opens the door, and that's it. That's the entire security system. They haven't upgraded it since the last time. There's no fingerprint. There's no keypad. There's no keys at all.
It's not even a different book.
No, I mean, I assume it's not a different book. They don't mention it, but it looks like the same one. So they've obviously learned nothing from the last time the library was so easily burgled.
I think they should have a rotating book system, and then you get the clue every morning and you have to figure it out. It's like a quote from the book.
Yeah, or just don't have the book and have a keypad or a thumbprint scanner or anything.
No, Sam, it's called the Librarian.
Have the keypad built into a book. I don't care. So in the vault, Flynn wanders around looking for Judson, but then he's attacked by Excalibur, which is a flying sword, if you remember. Excalibur is a sentient flying sword in this universe, and I start poking him and smacking him around, and he's like, oh, so we're gonna do it this way, huh? He starts fighting, he grabs a trident off the wall, starts fighting Excalibur, because the movie, although being a tight 90 minutes, has time for this.
It definitely does, Sam. Did Excalibur play any kind of role in the previous movie?
I mean, it was there and it smacked, and it was also kind of a jerk and I don't want to say mischievous object in the previous one, but it had no bearing on the plot.
Okay. I couldn't remember it if I actually did anything plot bearing.
It flew around. And again, I commented on the fact that I don't remember the Arthurian legend mentioning that Excalibur flew and had a mind of its own and liked to smack people around for fun.
That's the untold history, Sam.
Oh, great. Well, I mean, I haven't been able to find the once and future king in the library, so maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, so Flynn grabs a trident and finally, pins Excalibur down with the trident and makes a joke about it being all washed up, is immediately sprayed with water from the trident because Poseidon.
He's so funny. I love Poseidon.
And then apparently Judson shows up as you shouldn't make jokes about water or with Poseidon's trident because you'll get wet. And then he says Judson had instructed Excalibur to attack Flynn at random as part of some training exercise because I guess there are lots of flying magical swords out there in the world he has to contend with which he's trained to fight or something.
It's just surprise attacks, Sam. It's just training him for surprise attacks.
Sure. And this is the movie doing its highest density of gags because it has the Poseidon gag with the trident, and then he drives himself off with what appears to be the Shroud of Turin, and he's like, oh, the Shroud of Turin, you shouldn't drive yourself off with that. Let's go put that away. And so yuck, yuck, yuck. All these artifacts are in this place, and they're taking very poor care of them.
Yeah, why don't they? Yeah, it's concerning to me that none of them are behind glass or anything. They're just kind of left all around on chairs.
Yeah, no, it is for librarians or people who preserve and curate things. They take terrible care of their charges.
It's really impressive, actually.
I know. It's awful. So Judson takes Flynn through a magic brick wall to a new part of the library, and Flynn hands over the crystal skull while bragging about how he just saved the world. And I still don't really know if the crystal skull was a world-saving kind of mission or not. Yeah, it sees the future. Is that going to cause the world to explode? I don't know. Maybe there's a paradox involved. But the point is, he's really making it a bigger deal than I think it is.
I feel like all of the things, or at least from the previous movie, were very loosey-goosey with their concept of how important they were. The portal opened, but if I recall correctly, neither of us could figure out what the portal was about.
Yeah, no.
Why it mattered.
I don't know if I mentioned it in that episode or not, but my thought, at least later, was if it had been the Stargate portal and James Spader had walked in, it would have been perfect.
That would have been a fun crossover. I'd watch that movie.
Yeah, right? Wouldn't that be great?
I'm sure Noah Wyle probably would love to come back to do the Librarian. We should get that on board.
All right, I'll write to James Spader. You write to Noah Wyle to make this happen.
I mean, I would say that we have a higher chance of that happening than some of our suggestions for movies.
Sure. Okay, great. I'm sure they'll be like, who are these idiots? And I guarantee actually they wouldn't even read them. They just go right in the trash.
You don't know that, Sam.
Yeah, they'll have some executive assistant read them and be like, oh, this is garbage.
Or be like, this is brilliant. Let's get these two people on the phone.
Yeah, never.
They might need jobs, Sam.
Sure. Okay. We need jobs, Danielle. That's why we're doing this podcast.
We have jobs.
I mean, we can use better ones.
That's true.
So Judson reprimands Flynn about hey, don't get cocky. You were kind of careless during that mission, which he was because of this whole Sue Arrowhead fiasco.
Yeah, seriously, Finn, what are you doing?
Yeah, and it's not Finn, it's Flynn.
Whatever.
With an L.
What are you doing, Noah?
There you go. I believe you called him in the original Flynnoa or something.
Let's do Flynnoa. Bringing it back.
So Flynn gets all huffy and goes off about how he's saved the world like a dozen times from spears and time-traveling ninjas and so on. And side note, Flynn fighting time-traveling ninjas sounds like a way more interesting movie than whatever we're going to get today.
Yeah, I definitely want to see that movie.
But no, we're going to get something much less interesting.
Maybe that's movie 3.
I mean, I can only hope. But Judson is all, sometimes you have to give up what you want for the greater good, which is the difference between a good librarian and a great librarian. So all you librarians out there who aren't sacrificing your own wants for the greater good, get your act together.
Yeah. Remind me, the evil librarians.
Yeah.
From the last movie. Were they all taken care of?
Remember?
Yeah.
Snake.
Were they all taken care of by the end of that movie? Or do they still exist?
I don't remember. I think they were most taken care of, but there was some other dung beetle evil group or scorpion group. It was like a scorpion group that emerged as the evil guys from the last movie.
The scary, scary dung beetles.
The scarabs, Danielle, scarabs.
That's completely different.
A scarab is a dung beetle.
I know, but like when you talk about things that are scary, you don't say dung beetles, you say scarabs.
I mean, but they're the same thing.
It's all in the name, Sam.
And marketing is important, you're right.
The dung beetles would be very upset if your marketing was them trying to be scary.
I mean, to be fair, one sounds pretty scary to me. Anyway, so Judson has set some very high bars for librarians around the world. Flynn is very put off by Judson's reprimands and storms off. We cut to him later that evening visiting his mom, and as he opens the door, surprise! It's your 32nd birthday party!
Yay! It's his birthday?
Yeah, apparently it is, and Flynn quickly states he hates birthdays and he hates parties, and he's really unhappy about this whole situation.
Such a little wet blanket.
I know. Also, how did his mom plan this? She never got any confirmation that he was coming back, and he just arrived back in the city like that day, apparently. So, she really invited everyone over and made this whole thing on the assumption that you'd probably show up.
It's a plot thing. Maybe she didn't really care if maybe she's very lonely and she likes to throw parties. And she probably throws Flynn a lot of parties, but then he just doesn't show up to half of them, but you don't get to see that on the TV.
To be fair, no one there is a friend of Flynn's because he has no friends. They're all friends of his mom.
See? She just wants to throw her own parties.
I'm totally cool with that.
She uses him as an excuse.
And so, again, his mom drags him over to introduce him to another woman because apparently Nicole, from the last movie, she's been wiped from existence.
She doesn't exist?
She's never mentioned. She is never brought up. Nothing is ever mentioned about her or Flynn's relationship with her.
They didn't even, just write her out, pretending like she's, on a quest or something.
There's no throwaway line about, it didn't work out because she was, mauled by a Yeti or something.
Why would they not just have a line in there just having her not in the plot?
Nope. She is never mentioned, like she is Voldemort or something.
What a stupid writing choice.
My only assumption is that there was some mystical artifact that literally removed her from the flow of time and erased her from history.
I love that. Let's pretend like that happened.
Yeah.
Or she did something so horrible that they never speak of her ever again.
No, I'm going to say it was a grand sacrifice. She sacrificed her life to save Flynn from being erased, which was clearly the wrong decision.
I'd really like to assume that's what happened, and nobody has any memory of her existing.
Exactly, because no one in this movie does have any memory of her.
It's with the ninjas.
Yeah, well, time-traveling ninjas could have memory. Maybe it was the time-traveling ninjas who did it,
That's what I mean, Sam. That was the time-traveling ninjas plot.
That's a great... Dave, you solved it.
I think that now I want to see that movie even more.
Actually, Danielle, I hate to bring this up again, but the time-traveling ninjas could very well be the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time.
There's a whole plot going on here.
Right. I want to see the librarian try to get that artifact, the time-traveling staff thing, from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as the time-traveling ninjas.
And then, I don't know, you could somehow work in Legend, because that was the last thing that was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time.
All our time-travel movies eventually end up with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I mean, to be fair, most time-traveling movies do have that plot.
It's true. So anyway, Flynn does not want to date this random woman because apparently she's his third cousin.
Ah.
And his mom was like, so you're cousins, you'll have plenty to talk about. And what is this movie, Danielle?
To be fair, they are kissing cousins.
Could be literally, but Flynn is not into it. The woman, on the other hand, she seems totally fine with it too.
Depends on what kind, how distantly related that cousin is. Maybe they're adopted, Sam.
He mentioned some aunt that they both have in common, so figure it out.
Yeah, questionable.
Yeah.
That mom's desperate. I feel bad for her.
Yeah, because she totally forgot she had Nicole wiped from her memory. Doesn't remember that her son actually managed to maintain a relationship for a few weeks.
He did. I also feel bad for Flynnoa. That'd be hard to have as a mom.
So while getting a drink in the kitchen, a grizzled, bearded older man surprises Flynn with a hug. It's Jerry. I think he might be a relation. He's just back from Nepal. He works in import and export, and he brought a gift for Flynn, a Tibetan shadow box. And inside is a photo of Jerry and Flynn's dad when they were young and in the Navy. They were best friends, but when they both met Flynn's mother at that point, Flynn's father made the first move and stole her away. But ever since then, Flynn's father made Jerry promise to take care of Flynn if anything ever happened to him.
But Flynn's father doesn't exist, right? Anymore?
Flynn's father is dead.
Right, that's what I meant. And
I mean, he exists. He's not like wiped from time like Nicole.
I don't know how this show works, Sam. Apparently it just wipes out characters. They're never
There's
heard
a
from
photo
again.
of him, so he has to still exist in the timeline. If there'd be Back to the Future rules, the photo would have disappeared Flynn's father from the photo.
Yeah, well, maybe that happens later. Did Jerry end up hooking up with his mom?
Not yet.
I saw it.
So anyway, Jerry reaffirms his support and love of Flynn as his godfather/best friend of his father. And then Flynn's mom comes in and ropes the two of them into karaoke. But because this movie doesn't like fun, we don't get to see that. It just cuts to after the party.
That's because they couldn't get the rights to any songs, Sam.
They could have made something up. That'd be great. Maybe they could have sang Happy Birthday and really made it miserable. So we cut to Flynn after the party, sitting in his room, or what was his room, looking wistfully at pictures of his dad. His dad was also 32 when he died. He was a dress salesman from Brooklyn, and now that Flynn's 32, he's confronting his own mortality.
How did he pass away?
We don't learn that for quite a long time.
Oh, okay. Sorry for asking at the relevant time in the story.
Look, Danielle, I'm going to give you the information in the same order this story gives it to me, so you're going to have to suffer. Flynn wants to know more about him and asks his mom.
When did he pass away?
When he was like, I don't know, when Flynn was like 8?
Oh, okay.
Something like that?
It was quite a while ago.
Yeah, I mean, a long time ago. Because his dad was 32 when he died, and Flynn's now 32. So do the math on that.
Right, but I didn't know when he could have passed away 5 years ago. I don't know, Sam.
Yeah, if he was away 5 years ago, that means he must have had Flynn when he was like 12.
Okay, whatever. I wasn't doing the math. You're right.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so Flynn asks his mom to know more about him because his father was always traveling, so he didn't really get to spend as much time with him as he wanted. But his mom's like, oh, there's not much to know. And I'm just saying, like, his father always traveling? Suspicious.
Maybe he's a librarian.
Oh,
maybe he's an evil
yeah.
librarian. Is he part of the snake group?
Snake.
I hope so. Please let him be evil. Please let him be evil. And then I want the third movie to be about Flynnoa turning into an evil librarian to follow his father's footsteps.
You basically described Star Wars.
Yes, let's do it.
You just made Star Wars again, Danielle, but with Flynn.
So good. The reason why that was successful, Sam.
Yeah, that's the reason. So his mom then brings out a little box of trinkets she saved, and she opens it up. Inside, she gives Flynn an amulet, a little pendant, that looks like the Freemason symbol with a triangle in the center or a pyramid instead of a G. And I didn't think it was relevant earlier, so I'm going to mention it now. The bald good guy who got murdered by a Jeep earlier had the same pendant symbol.
Ooh, suspicious. Yeah. Was his dad named the same thing as him? Is he Flynn Jr.?
I have no idea. They never mentioned the father's name.
Okay, just curious.
We don't learn that.
I was just curious if the guy with the necklace, sent the gift, the thing, to Flynn, thinking that it was Flynn Sr. because he didn't know that he passed away.
No, absolutely not.
That would have been a good plot, too, though.
So apparently the dad would wear the pendant and tell Flynn magical bedtime stories about strange places, and then Flynn would draw those stories for his father. And then Flynn drops that he has 22 degrees but still doesn't know anything about his father, and he has to work that into every conversation, right, Flynn?
I mean, yeah, that's the plot of the story, Sam.
So his mom gives him all the photos and gives him the pendant and sends him on his way. Back at his own apartment, as he's climbing the stairs to get to his door, Flynn is opening the package from Egypt, which is a scroll covered in hieroglyphs. And as he's about to enter his apartment, he realizes the door is open, and he finds it ajar, and inside, everything is ransacked.
Why do people always go inside when they find their doors ajar in their apartments in the cities?
Because Flynn is the librarian. Danger is his middle name. Flynn, Danger.
No, you call the police.
No, he calls Judson Magical Bob Newhart, which is almost as good.
Okay, well, that's a second option if you have one.
Yeah, if you have Magical Bob Newhart in your life, call him. Because remember, he was like an ex-Navy something because he kicks a lot of butt at the end of the last movie.
Completely valid choice to call him instead of the police, but I wouldn't even go in the apartment.
Oh, he goes in, he calls Judson, and he's like, hey, you gotta come down here, my place has been ransacked. Then he hears a noise, he's like, oh, there's someone still in here, I'll have to call you back.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Come on.
I know. So he picks up a trophy as a cudgel, and he's walking through his apartment. Tense music's playing. He opens a closet. There's a cat inside. Where did the cat come from? I don't know. And as he's, petting the cat, he gets smashed over the head from behind by the evil bald dude.
I was hoping it was like a human that turned into a cat. Hilarious. Nope. Do you think the bad guy put the cat in the closet just to like throw him off his tracks?
I can only assume. I don't know how else he got in there because Flynn does not have a cat.
Maybe the cat ransacked the apartment.
Quite possible. But Flynn is knocked unconscious and we go to commercial break.
You watched it with commercials?
No, but it faded to black.
Okay. I was like, ooh, what were the commercials like in the 2000s?
I mean, there are commercials on Tubi where I watched it, but they don't necessarily line up with the actual commercial breaks. Yeah. So when we get back from the commercial break, which is for me seconds later, Flynn comes to with Judson helping him up. But the scroll is gone. So the evil dude just smashed him over the head, stole the scroll, and did not bother to kill him or anything else.
Which is dumb.
Mistake. Yeah.
Yes. Well, too bad the story is named after him. Does he... I don't know where I was going with that question. Never mind.
Okay, great. Thank you, Danielle.
How did they know that he had the scroll? He didn't even know he had the scroll.
Danielle, again, I guess the random Egyptian boy blabbed.
How did they find him?
He's bragging about all the money he made from the weird American, or I guess it was British guy, whoever, the weird white dude.
This crazy guy gave me some money in a package to take to the mail. I didn't look in the package because I'm a good boy, I am.
Yeah, where'd you send it? Oh, I sent it to New York.
I don't know. I don't read English.
Fair point. But, Daniel, I cannot explain it, but the bad guys just they know where they gotta go, and they go there.
Con shenanigans.
Oh, absolutely. So Flynn remembers nothing about the scroll, but he does remember that in one corner was a Star of David with a crescent moon symbol. He doesn't remember
anything. He's got, magic memory mind, and he doesn't have a single recall.
He just remembers that there was a Star of David in the corner with a crescent moon underneath it, and Judson's like, oh, that's the symbol of King Solomon. That's King Solomon's seal. And then we cut to Flynn in the library, pacing in front of Judson's desk, and they're, sitting in his office, the conversation just picked up. They're like...
I hate when movies do that.
Yeah, it was. It took me a second because it's an abrupt cut and the conversation continues if nothing had happened. I'm like, did the scene just change? I had a moment.
They do that all the time, and they're like, I have something I need to tell you, and then they cut to a cafe where they're having coffee. I'm like, you waited 30 minutes to have this conversation you said you needed to talk about.
This is worse than that because, Judson's like, that's the seal for King Solomon. And then we cut to Flynn going, King Solomon, he was this, it goes up like literally word for word as it was continuing the exact same conversation.
Well, maybe they did do that. Maybe they transported Sam.
Yeah, maybe Judson magically teleported them. I don't know. But either way, I was very confused.
Maybe he did a bunch of research, so he kind of was starting the conversation up all over again.
Well, he wasn't, because Flynn's like, I don't really remember much about Sunday school, and he rattles off a bunch of facts about King Solomon and how he stored his immense wealth in a temple that was built by 24 hand-picked stonemasons. And Judson's like, yes, but also Solomon kept his personal things in a different secret place, his mines, that apparently are different than his magic treasure temple. They're the magic mines where he stored his treasure. It's all very confusing as to why the mines are different than the treasure. Why do you need a vault and then a separate vault that's called a mine?
Because it's special, Sam. It's where you put the extra special stuff.
And then Flynn goes, King Solomon's mines? That place is just a legend. And Judson's all, hello, Flynn, how long have you been working here? And I'm like, Flynn, are you a genius or are you an idiot? Get with the program. You just recovered the crystal skull of Atlantis. And you're like, oh, well, Atlantis crystal skull, that's fine. But King Solomon's mines, those can't be real.
That's like when people are in fantasy novels and then they're surprised that some other creature exists. They're like, well, werewolves exist, but vampires, that's nonsense.
or like, how did the person disguise themselves so well? Well, there's magic.
Crazy.
So Judson goes on to explain that the mines are lost, and only the 24 stonemasons who built them knew where they were, and they devised a map, which is what he received in the mail. That was what we received in the mail, was the map to King Solomon's mines. How did Judson know without ever seeing the parchment? Don't ask it. Judson just knows.
Because that's the only thing that would host his seal, Sam.
Yes, I'm sure King Solomon had a seal that he put on nothing else except this one map made by his stonemasons.
I think Judson's secretly evil. And behind all this nonsense.
He's more like an imp. I don't know if he's good or evil. He's just kind of there.
Morally gray.
Yeah. But also, why do you want to make a map? This whole thing is not like, if you want to keep the mines secret,
don't have a map.
I don't know why you make a map to them. And I don't get it, Danielle.
Maybe King Solomon had a really terrible memory and was afraid he was going to forget where he put his mines.
Maybe, sure. Judson also tells Flynn that there's more. There's the Key of Solomon, an ancient tome full of power that Solomon used to rule. It could summon the power of the underworld and bend space-time. So the stakes are really high.
So you said a key?
The Key of Solomon is a book.
Is a book, a tome. You said a tome.
I said a tome, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't understand the word. I thought you said a phone, and I decided that was probably wrong. And then I was trying to figure out what
King Solomon had a really high cell phone bill, having to use a plan with roaming across time and space.
I mean, it could happen.
I have 5,000 years of roaming charges. Yeah, so apparently this magical book is stored in the mines because it was too powerful to be left in the treasure trove area.
What?
Yeah, exactly. So the treasure trove, the vault with all the gold and stuff, was like where he kept some of his gold. But he put a bunch of other gold and more powerful things in the mines.
Are they warded so that the magic can't escape? The others weren't?
No.
Again, thus broaching the question, why not just have it all in one space?
That's a really good question, Danielle. And a good answer. I don't have an answer for that. Luckily, Judson says the map is useless without the legend to decipher it. And the legend piece is located in some Roman ruins near Morocco.
Okay. This time, let's not go get it and not help out the bad guys.
Well, there are a few things about this that are a little bit different. Yeah, that was my first thought. And what I really wrote my next sentence, why don't they already have that in the library if they know where it is? Also, how convenient that they know where it is. And then why don't they just go not get it?
Solve the problem.
But no, the problem is I think the bad guys might also know where it is somehow, or at least they're making that assumption because it's not like it's magically warded, it's just there. But as we'll see, Flynn totally gets it for them, because of course he does.
Why would you just keep this piece of lore where it is and not have it protected in some way?
Or why not do your job as like curators and go and snatch it? Like if we know where the legend piece is, go get it and put it in the library where it's safe.
But it's not safe in the library, Sam. We've proven that time and time again.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Where they think it's safe, I should say.
Maybe one of the previous librarians is like, nah, let's not put that in the library. Safer out in the wild.
Oh, boy, Danielle, maybe. Either way, Judson instructs Flynn to retrieve the map and the legend, since the mines can never be found. They're far too dangerous. And I will bet any amount of money that Flynn will end up in those mines anyway. Because, hey, what's the title of this movie? Return to King Solomon's Mines.
The Return? Are they returning back?
Spoiler alert, Danielle. I have no idea why it's called The Return to King Solomon's Mines. We have met no one, and will meet no one in this movie who's actually been to the mines, as far as we know for sure.
Maybe they mean the return as in, like, they were Solomon's, and now somebody else is going to be in them, so. Oh,
they're going to return to King Solomon. Hey, Solomon, I found your mines. Where's my reward for finding, like a cat post, like, lost, mines, reward, $5.
I didn't mean that, Sam. I just meant that Solomon was the first person, and then the second people would be them.
Sure, but like, or maybe it's like the Return of the Mines. Like they came back.
Maybe they're the bad guys.
The mines?
Return of the Mines. Dun,
if
dun,
it was
dun.
mines, I'd be more interested. So Flynn gets his tickets to Casablanca from Charlene, and after he leaves, she asks the open air
to the city. That was confusing.
Yeah, Casablanca's a place, Danielle.
No, I was like, Morocco, is he going to a movie?
Flynn is going.
I got it. I don't know. I suddenly thought I missed something or he was going to a movie.
No, he's not going to a movie. He's got a plane ticket to Casablanca.
I got it. It's just that you don't usually hear people going to Casablanca in a real life scenario.
Yes, this movie is very real life.
You know what I mean, Sam.
So Charlene asks the empty air after he leaves, did you tell him? And then Judson, who I guess was spying on him, just materializes out of thin air and goes, no, he'll find out soon enough. And why wouldn't you tell him something potentially important about his work for this life-saving, world-saving mission?
Because that's
also,
how movies work.
It's 100% about Flynn's dad.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, yeah. Obviously, Sam.
Yeah, obviously.
I don't know why they like to keep secrets in movies, but they do.
So now in Casablanca, Flynn gets mocked for making a Casablanca movie reference to the cab driver. He's like, take me to Sam's bar. Like, you're very original. So, you're not the first person to make that connection.
Shocking, really?
So he gets a cab to drive him to the volubilis ruins, which I guess he's just sort of allowed to walk around and through, even though there are people excavating it as an archaeological dig site.
Uh-huh.
So Flynn sort of walks around. There's like no guards or like, security or like people or like tape or anything. Just like walks around and like, oh, yes, starts picking up artifacts, like looking at them.
Some countries are much more lax in their regulations, Sam.
Well, I'll have to say that's not really the case. So the person directing the worker is, of course, the new love interest, Emily, who's played by Gabrielle Anwar.
Maybe she's a like the other one faded away and
reincarnation?
Yeah, but like not quite a reincarnation because she wouldn't have been old enough, but like her soul and mind went into her body.
Creepy. No.
You don't know that, Sam.
I do know that. So this woman is very upset that they haven't found anything despite the digging. And I don't know what she's talking about. There are ruins everywhere. There's like massive, like, what is she looking for specifically?
She's like, none of these things matter. I want this one thing.
I want pottery shards or something. So Flynn just walks in and starts like messing with the artifacts and starts mansplaining to Emily as she walks over like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, oh, you see this? Yeah, I know. He's like, you see this mosaic? It's from the 50 BC or whatever. And she's like, no, it's like 40 BC. He corrects some of the age of the artifact after he almost drops it. And I can't fathom how she's going to fall in love with this absolute disaster of a mansplaining person. But I know it will happen. I'm angry about it already.
That's always the case. I mean, look at whatchamacallit, that one, evolution. How?
Well,
How, Sam?
Why'd you bring up evolution? Now I'm angrier.
I'm sorry, but she really shouldn't have fallen in love with him.
Oh, 100% no. So Flynn's like, oh, I'm with the Geological Institute, here to do a survey. And she tells him, like, this is a private dig. We don't have to let you do a survey. And kindly buzz off. And the scene ends. But as the scene ends, we zoom in on the background of a guy in a turban and while ominous music plays. And it could be the evil guy, because he's wearing a turban, and the most distinguishing feature I remember about the evil guy is that he's bald and has a beard, and this guy has a beard and a turban, so they could be the same person. I don't know. He's only been on screen for like 10 seconds, so
you don't
maybe.
have good facial recall.
Danielle, you watch this movie and try to keep track of who's who.
Oh no, I'm terrible at facial recall. Don't judge me on that. I'm worse than you,
so the
for
next
sure.
scene, Flynn is still just hanging around this dig site, despite her telling him very clearly to please go away. He then goes up to Emily to bug her again, and he's all, high-resolution digital photography, what are you looking for? And she, for some reason, instead of telling him to leave again, like, oh, we're looking for evidence this place was once ruled by the Queen of Sheba.
Oh, okay.
But Flynn notes that the Queen of Sheba was King Solomon's wife, and she's like, yes, thank you for mansplaining that to me, and more likely the audience.
It's definitely the audience, but also her. It was
so
like
Flynn,
70% the audience and 30% her.
Yes, the woman who's looking for evidence of the Queen of Sheba doesn't know that she was the wife of King Solomon. Great. And she absolutely knows that. Flynn, master of subtlety that he is, then asks, did you find anything unusual? Like something that could be used to read a map?
So as far as she knows, this is just some random dude on her dig, right?
Yeah. Okay. And he's like, hey, do you find anything that could be used to read a map? And I'm like, what question is that? What do you mean could be used to read a map? Eyeballs are used to read. A pair of glasses could be used to read a map. Like, that could be literally anything. Like, how do you say, like, oh, yes, we found this interesting rock. It could be used to read a map. That's a nonsense question. It's a meaningless question. No one could ever answer that question. Like, you to be more specific than that, please.
What does she say? Probably not that.
No, what she says, miraculously, is that you're the second person to ask me that today. And I'm like, I refuse to believe two people ask the same incredibly stupid question in the same day. Incredibly vague, incredibly stupid question that is unanswerable. I refuse to accept that.
Excuse me, ma'am. Have you found anything to read a map by?
Have you found anything that can be used to read a map? You're like, you have eyeballs. Go read a map with those. What are you bugging me for?
And she's just answering random strangers' questions is the terrible thing.
Oh, it's all dumb. It's like clearly contrived. Also, I just love how Flynn, the master librarian and genius that he is, has all the like subtlety of a bull smashing his way through a china shop.
To be fair, he was not that good at the first one either.
That's, you know what, Danielle, that's a fair point. I shouldn't be so hard on him. You think they would make him a little bit better about this if he's going around on secret missions?
Yeah, you think after possibly 2 years, he would be better.
Or more. Who knows? Could be millennia. We have no idea what the time frame is on this.
That's true. Do they age like normal humans? Librarians? Curators?
I don't know. Judson's amazingly old and still spry in magic, so who knows?
Yeah, maybe they just turn into magic beings.
Well, maybe we'll see that in The Librarian 3, Metamorphosis.
I'm sure at some point you will talk to us about metamorphosis.
So Emily then tells him there was another snoop around here earlier, and then she pulls the old, so you're from the Geological Institute, aren't you? So you must know John Binder. How is old John doing these days? And Flynn, super genius that he is, with 22 degrees, is all like, oh, good one, you almost got me, but there is no John Binder. And she's all, he's the head of the institute, and then walks off.
It'd be funny if he wasn't and she was still just messing with him.
A, possible. B, he didn't mention like which geological institute. She just said the Geological Institute. Is there the Geological Institute of Morocco? I don't know. Could it be a Geological Institute of another country or just another like private Geological Institute? So he, super genius that he is, could have just said something like, wrong Geological Institute. The head of my Geological Institute is Fred McFredface. Different guy.
Good old Fred McFredface.
Look, that's a better answer than what he gives, which is just to be like, well, you got me. I'm a liar.
Is the answer, well, my guy who runs my institute is Fred McFredface. Really a better answer, Sam?
I mean, at least it's like plausible deniability as John Binder. Like, you're saying John Binder's head of my institute. I say it's Fred McFredface. You have no evidence that it's not. So, I could be telling the truth. Who would make up a name that dumb?
McFredface, please.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. They was changed at Ellis Island. Anyway, she insists that he's actually been sent there by some rival archaeologist to steal her dig, which, is that a thing that happens?
I don't know, maybe in some countries.
And then Flynn's like, yep, I'm totally working for those French guys to steal your dig. And then she throws him off the dig, and the suspicious turban man then watches him leave.
I feel like it'd be more likely that somebody's coming in to, like, rob your dig than to steal your dig. No, she thinks she's like academic rivals. Yeah. That's all she's convinced about. Yeah.
And
I mean, I don't know, Sam. You run in academia way more than I do, so you tell me. Is that a common thing?
Danielle, I'm not an inventory archaeologist, so what do I know? But I've never, ever heard of that. I've heard of people being scooped because they were too late to publish or something, but never of, like, someone maliciously coming in and, like, stealing your work. Especially not, like, an archaeological dig. How do you even steal that?
If we have any listeners that are archaeologists.
Yes, please tell me. Like, I'm no archaeologist, but I could really use some advice here.
We want to know how truthful this plot is to the librarian.
Everything else is spot on so far.
Quest for the mines, mine spears, returns of the mines.
Return to King Solomon's mines.
Solomon's mine spears, return of.
Yes, great, perfect. So that night, Flynn sneaks back into the dig site, but surprise, Emily is also there to ambush him because I guess she was expecting someone to sneak back in. I don't know.
She just never sleeps, Sam.
She's there 24/7.
She's a cyborg.
And she tells him to leave again. While the piece of paper says, like, this is my permit, it has my name on it, get out of here or I'll have you arrested. And he's like, you're right, I lied to you. I'm here for a map legend to help me decipher a map to King Solomon's mines. So he's just telling everybody about this thing.
Maybe he just thought it'd be easier if it was straightforward.
She does not believe him because King Solomon's mines don't exist as far as she's concerned. And then he climbs down into like an underground part of the dig site and she just follows him and keeps like talking to him instead of like doing anything about that.
I'd call the police.
I'd call the police too. Also, why are you telling everyone about your quest for... This is why the bad guys found you in Brooklyn and found the map on you so easily, because you just tell everyone who you are and what you're doing.
Yes, he pulled out of the thing, out of the envelope, and then told the next 10 people he saw as he was walking down the street.
Look, they probably figured that they sent it to the librarian, and like, who's the librarian? Oh yeah, it's the guy who goes around telling everybody he's the librarian.
Librarian.
This is like James Bond, who's like, tells everyone, like, oh yeah, I'm James Bond. Oh, you're that secret agent that everyone knows who's not very secret? Like, it's the same thing. Anyway, it's dumb. And it gets dumber throughout the movie, I promise you.
Perfect. Looking forward to it.
He then mansplains again that he's looking for a secret lever in this underground chamber because the Romans always built secret chambers in all of their architecture. And she's like, there's no secret chamber here. We've been using like radar imaging. We're like, oh, ha ha, I found it. And he hits the side of the wall and a rock recesses into the wall. And
I hate that he's right.
Yeah, and a fake wall falls out. Like, yep, there it is. He's like, haha, no secret chambers. Look what I found. And so they go inside, and she identifies this as Ptolemy's tomb. That Ptolemy, the father of geometry and astronomy.
Excellent.
Is it important that it's Ptolemy's tomb, Danielle?
No, it's not. No. Because this is Solomon's mines.
Well, apparently Ptolemy worked for Solomon. I don't know if that's true. Were they even around in the same era? I don't know.
Dear Google.
Yeah, right. I didn't look it up because I didn't care enough. As they're walking around in this place, they find this globe, and he explains that this globe is a replica of Ptolemy's atlas, like the first, and he's like the first person to claim the Earth was round, which again is not true. And Emily notices that the continents on the globe like don't line up, like they're shifted over from each other. And then Flynn responds, just as I suspected. And I'm like, wait, what? You suspected they were wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you didn't, dude. You just got into this room and she just told you it was wrong. You're like, aha! I knew those continents would be wrong in that globe.
It's funny.
It's just him trying to be a know-it-all. And then he rotates the top half of the globe so the continents line up, and the top pops off, and inside is a golden rod with symbols carved onto it, about the size of his palm. And one of the symbols matches Flynn's pendant. Emily, by the way, she's like fully on board with this. She's just like, oh yeah, Flynn, do whatever you want on my dig site. It's totally cool. They're interrupted by a man yelling and swinging a sword that they just dodge out of the way. And so maybe don't telegraph your attack by screaming. That's just like my first thought. So
this guy followed them into the site and climbed down there and they didn't notice?
Yeah. And then they didn't notice him until he started yelling and was about to swing a sword at their heads.
They always yell.
Always yell. And the man says, the map legend must not leave the tomb. So, like, he's not the evil guy. He's someone else, Danielle. I was wrong.
Okay, so you're wrong. But also, this place seems pretty well guarded, right? There's like a guy that chases people about...
The one guy, yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's not too bad, right? And so if he didn't take it out of there, it'd probably be fine. If he hadn't, again, gone through all the trouble of finding the secret passage,
right. If he hadn't revealed the Ptolemy's tomb that Emily would not have found, it probably would have stayed there for at least a good little while.
Yeah, that's crazy nonsense.
It's about to get worse, I promise you. Anyway, I should probably pay better attention because I didn't really know who this guy was, and I still don't.
Does he come back? Is he important? Does he die?
Boy, Danielle, we'll get to that.
Okay.
He is both important and not important. So the dude winds up again and swings, they easily dodge, and he smashes open Ptolemy's crypt because, artifacts, who needs them? But the man manages to knock Flynn down and, straddles him and is about to, stab him and kill him when Flynn's amulet starts glowing and shines a light in the man's face. And he shouts, Alakazam, the order!
No, he doesn't.
As he jumps off of Flynn.
Does he seriously say that?
He literally says, and the subtitles confirm this, Alakazam, the order.
No.
Yes. Why Alakazam? I don't know. I like to think that the actor made a choice, and I love that choice.
That's the stupidest thing. That says literally anything.
He just says, Alakazam, the order, as the light shines in his face from a glowing pendant.
No.
And it jumps off of Flynn and recoils. It's so good. It's so good.
I can't believe Picard Jr. didn't tell them not to say that.
You Jonathan Frakes?
Yeah.
You didn't be like, cut. Let's say a less stupid word. I like to think that it was in the script, and the scriptwriter was there like, you are not changing a word of my perfect script.
I like to
every
think
word,
that
Alakazam is important. It's integral to the character of this unnamed man.
I like to think that Jonathan Frakes actually really just didn't like that guy and knew it would ruin his acting career.
Yeah, okay, sure, that's it. Because everyone else did so well after this movie, except for Noah Wyle.
He did great.
No, I did fine. Everyone else, have you heard of any of these people?
Yeah, Bob Newhart.
Yeah, but this was before this is him sinking down to the depths.
Oh, it's sad.
I mean, he had the Bob Newhart show before all that. He was doing fine. Anyway, Alakazam, the dude, gets off. I'm gonna call him Alakazam from now on.
Okay.
He gets off and he reveals that he has the same amulet, which identifies him as the Order of the Cryptic Masons.
The Cryptic Masons?
Cryptic Masons.
This is Masons for crypts?
No,
are they just
mysterious Masons.
The street?
Secret Masons. Secret Masons, Danielle. Come on. This isn't hard. Let's not do this. They don't make crypts. They are Masons that are
Masons
cryptic.
with assault, assuming that they go into crypts when they're basically in a crypt, Sam, is a totally valid choice.
I mean, you know what? I didn't want to think about that part. I immediately jumped to the fact that it was supposed to be mysterious secret order, but you got me.
I didn't. They're in a crypt.
That's fair.
I thought they protected them. I'm sorry.
No, they just protect this one. They just protect... we'll get to it, I promise. We'll talk about their past. Alakazam then says, you're one of us. Okay, then that legend is yours. And what? That was easy. You just let him take it out of the tomb now? It must not leave the tomb. Oh, you have the amulet pendant thing? You probably didn't take that off a dead guy. It's totally your legend now. You're free to go.
It only lights up for the actual wearer of it, Sam.
I mean, maybe, but how did he steal it? Or someone did may have done from the bald guy at the beginning. Do they only go for the good guys? These are questions I don't have answers to. And the movie doesn't provide answers because the fact that the amulet glows
doesn't matter.
Never comes up again. Ever.
Does it just glow because it was in next to another amulet or because he was in danger?
Danielle, both those things happen again in the movie and neither of those caused the amulet to glow.
Wild. Okay. Moving on.
There are more shouts in the distance, and Alakazam then pulls a lever, opening yet another secret passage in the back of the tomb this time, that he just knew the secret lever was here, and it like causes the doors to slide apart instead of being like, so it's like a way more intricate mechanism.
Well, he's a cryptic mason, Sam. He knows all about the crypts.
Apparently so.
The secrets of the crypts.
And so Alakazam's like, go, hurry through there. I'll hold the others off. And like, I don't know who the others are.
The other cryptic masons?
No, they're the bad guys. They're the bad guys, Danielle.
Okay.
But we don't know that for sure. We just know there are people coming and they're shouting. And as they're leaving, the Alakazam guy shouts to them, the other half of the map legend is in Kenya. And he's like, good luck. And I'm like, why is in Getty, the Getty province in Kenya? And he's like, why? Why'd you tell them that? If they're already in the Order of the Cryptic Masons, they should know that. If they're not in the Order of the Cryptic Masons, why you blur out the secret about where the other map legend is? Why do you assume they're even looking for it? Why are you giving this vital information away? Just keep your mouth shut. You're the worst.
Maybe it's not that they all know about it. It's just that, like, everything about it, it's just that they're allowed to access it if they come for it.
No, the whole point was, like, the thing, he said literally, the legend must not leave the tomb. He's like, okay, also, here's the other legend and where it is, in case you are also looking for that one and want to bring them together to go to King Solomon's Mine, which we are sworn to prevent anyone from doing.
I mean, but he is.
I don't know why. It's so dumb. It's very dumb.
Are they off to Kenya now?
We'll get there. And so I have a whole paragraph in my notes here where I'm just ranting about how dumb this decision is to yell at them where the other one is. And I go like, okay, why tell them? Why not just take the one half of the legend back to the library and keep it safe? Like, even if the bad guys manage to take and find the other half of the legend, without the half you have, it's useless. So keeping that half safe is fine. Because the other bad guys, they don't know about the other half of the legend. Like, even Bob Newhart didn't know about the other half of the legend.
Can you imagine Flynn getting half of a secret and not going after the other half?
But maybe just take the one half back and put it in safekeeping before going for the second half.
No, I agree. 100%.
Alakazam also then drops some cryptic clues because he'll tell them exactly what province in Kenya the other half of the legend is, but he won't tell them anything else without going into a riddle. And he says, you must journey through the breasts of Sheba and you'll find it with the all-seeing eye. And then he's like, bye.
Maybe it was a translation issue, Sam. He just didn't know the words.
No, he definitely knew the words. And then there's gunfire from behind them as Flynn and Emily escape down an aqueduct. Guess where this aqueduct leaves, Danielle? You'll never guess, but I'm going to make you try.
It leads to a waterfall.
Oh, I wish. It dumps them out the front door of a building into the streets of Morocco, of Casablanca.
Yeah, as all aqueducts do.
It's an aqueduct that literally just leads to a front door. Like, what if someone tries to go in that door? And you're like, oh, there's an aqueduct in here. I guess I have to go around the other way.
Oh, God, I hate when I open doors and there's aqueducts.
But there's not even like a door on it. It's just like an opening in a stone door frame, essentially. I'm so confused. Like, why? But it dumps them out into the street right in front of the same taxi driver that dropped Flynn back at the ruins in the first place.
So this aqueduct, like if somebody was it's on this like public street, if somebody just decided to go in there and follow it, they would end up in the behind the scenes of this tomb.
Yeah, exactly.
Wild. Why did they even go in the front door? They could have just walked in the aqueduct and avoided all the stuff at the front.
I don't know, Danielle. This aqueduct... It is also not like carrying water anywhere. Like, why does an aqueduct lead from maybe a higher place, presumably this tomb, to street level out of the door? Like, all they do is be dumping water into a street. Like, that's not helpful.
Maybe in the past it made more sense, Sam.
I don't know. Meanwhile, the evil guy and his leather-clad henchwoman are burning the dig site for some reason, like just destroying everything.
Why?
They're evil, Danielle. Go with it. And she reports in that the American got away. Dun, dun, dun. So now Emily and Flynn are riding in a truck full of goats, and he's telling her everything about the mines. The book of the Key of Solomon, everything. Like the whole thing about the magical power and how it can destroy the world and bring the dead back. Like, can you trust this woman? Do you even know her? Why are you telling her everything about the mines of Solomon?
He's trying to get into her pants, Sam.
Not yet.
Yes, that's his long con game.
No, he's not. He's just, because he tells literally everyone he meets the same story. It's not just her.
You don't know what his inclinations are.
I kind of do when we get to that. But like, you'd think you'd want this to be secret so the evil guys maybe couldn't follow you as easily, but no.
Nope, gotta tell everybody.
Emily is not 100% on board. She goes, if you're going to get the jump on them, we need to get to Kenya right away. And like, what about her dig, her life? Why is it all like, well, I guess I'm I'm on a quest with some random dude now. Is he the good guy? I don't know. I just met him, but we're going to Kenya.
Maybe she's just like, well, they're going to burn it anyways. Doesn't really matter.
She doesn't know that. So she claims she wants to go with him since the map legends are so old that if she brings them back, the university will fund her for years for her expedition, and that he needs her to decipher the markings on the legend. And Flynn's like, I think I can handle deciphering that. I translated the Book of the Birds in 7 hours and cracked their language. And she's like, oh, no, Mr. Smarty Pants. It's Akon, an ancient form of Hebrew cryptography, and I know the cryptic cipher and you don't. And so he's like, what? And she's like, wait when we get to Kenya, and then goes to sleep. It's all very contrived.
I like that he doesn't know it. He knows the language of the birds, but he doesn't know this one cipher.
Well, he translated by going through several other languages. It doesn't matter. It's very dumb. So now we cut to Kenya, where they take a honeymoon car ride. It's like a honeymoon bus thing, because the only ride available to them from the airport to where they're trying to get to.
Do you know if these were filmed on site or if they were told
I don't know.
Random
and
question.
I doubt
I was just curious.
So this is like an open air van with 3 rows and like 9 people in it with them. And it's like for a honeymoon, like a magical honeymoon cruise or whatever through the Kenya. And while they're in the car, some random woman in the back is like, Flynn Carson, is that you?
No.
Yes. Guess who it is, Danielle?
It's what's her
Oh my
face.
gosh, please guess. What? Who?
The one who disappeared in time.
No, it's not Nicole.
It's his mom.
Oh, even I wish, but it's not his mom. It's even better.
It's the girl that he had that blind date with that he hated in the first movie.
It is exactly her, Danielle.
Really?
Yeah.
3rd time's a charm. Good job, Danielle.
It is Deborah, the woman his mom set him up with in the first movie. Deborah.
Deborah.
This one's just Deborah. There's no O in this one.
Sure.
She is married and is now on the same 6-person car ride as him in Kenya on her honeymoon.
I love that they brought her back, but not the girl.
Yeah, they brought her back, but not Nicole. And also, they're at least an hour or so into this car ride, at least. And it's not like it's a tiny car. And she only just noticed that it was him now. Not when they were boarding, not when they're like all gathered around to get in the car. Like now, hours into their journey. Oh, wait, is that you, Flynn?
Maybe she was making out with her husband.
No, she wasn't.
You don't know that.
Weirder. It gets so much weirder than that. So Flynn, of course, does the whole like, oh yes, this is my new bride, Emily. We're here on our honeymoon. And Emily's like, why are you pretending to do this? We don't need to pretend to be married. And he's like, quiet. I don't want my mom to know why I'm really here.
Yeah, but then his mom's going to think that he's married.
I know. First off, you could have made up any excuse, like a better, like, oh, this is my, academic partner. We're here on a class.
Work.
Yeah, we're here on an academic excursion. It's a work trip. But no, he's like, we're married, and that's going to make his mom much more upset than anything else. Like, this is definitely going to blow up in your face, dude. You're an idiot.
Yeah. Stupid.
Anyway, Deborah's all like, oh, everyone, this is my friend Flynn and his new wife, Emily. Let's give them all a big honeymooner welcome. And she starts chanting the wedding march song while the others join in and throw rice at Flynn and Emily.
How do you chant the wedding march song, Sam?
Ba, 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 da, ba, ba.
That's chanting? That when you call that chanting?
I mean, she's pretty atonal.
Okay.
What would you call that?
Singing?
I mean, but there's no words. I mean, like, whatever.
Vocalizing?
Sure, vocalizing.
Whatever you want to call it. Chanting suggests a completely different, frame of mind, Sam.
All right, this is not the semantic podcast, Danielle. The word is a perfectly acceptable use. Let's move on to the more important questions I have about this scene, which are many. Like, isn't everyone here on their honeymoon? So why are they just celebrating these 2 numbskulls? Why do they have rice? Why do they wait until now, well into the journey, to do this celebration and just for these 2 guys? And would she not have welcomed them if she didn't have known them personally? Like, if there had been 2 other people, would she have been like, no, they don't deserve a welcome on their honeymoon?
I'm going to assume yes.
Which seems rude.
Is she just being overly enthusiastic because she's jealous?
No, she is honestly very happy with her new husband.
That's good. I'm glad. She deserves some happiness.
Anyway, this scene confuses me. I don't know why it's in the movie.
I like that they all have rice. I'm assuming that because it's a honeymoon trip, that the driver just has a bucket of rice.
But all the other honeymoon couples have the rice, and they're the ones who throw it for Flynn and
yeah, there's
Emily.
like a bucket of rice, and then I'll just grab a handful of it. You just didn't see that part.
Okay, sure. Let's go with that. Anyway, we now cut back to the evil dude who's torturing Alakazam. The Mason says he won't talk. You'll have to kill him. I won't tell you where the legend is. But instead, the evil dude reveals a woman and her kids, maybe it's Alakazam's family, unclear, that he's going to make him watch as he kills them. And Alakazam is clearly very torn about this and is about to spill everything.
I like the idea that it's no relation to him whatsoever. And then he's like, go for it, dude.
No, they clearly know him. They say his name in Arabic. And he's like, oh no, I guess I have to tell you now. So Flynn and Emily are dropped off from the honeymoon cruise, still a 2-day hike from where they need to go. As they're hiking through the jungle, they run into a tribe doing some kind of ceremonial dance, and they argue about what kind of dance it is, like a hunting dance or a marriage dance or something like that. And Flynn's like, why are you correcting me? I'm not as dumb as you think I am. I have 22 degrees. How many do you have? And Emily's like, I have 25. I'll be starting my 26th in June.
Why?
And first, a degree or volume of degrees does not necessarily correlate to actual intelligence or anything like that necessarily.
Right.
And second, this is again so much nonsense. 20x degrees, go to hell movie. No.
And she's around the same age as him, right?
Oh, younger, if anything. And so I guess also, like, Flynn isn't so special if just, like, clearly he's run to a second person already who has more degrees. And, like, there could be hundreds of multi-dozen degree people in this world.
Yeah, what made him so special for the librarian job?
Apparently, nothing. This movie has undone everything that made him special in the first movie. It also made him a lot dumber. So then they engage in a hiking montage for a bit where they stumble across a native man buried in the sand up to his neck. They ask him if he's all right. And in perfect English, he responds, I've been better. He apparently was caught stealing crops from the Bantu lands, and he was buried as punishment for that. So they dig him out, and he introduces himself as Jomo, and that he now owes them a life debt, and they should come with him to his village. They decline, but they mention they need to get to Getty, and he insists on taking them there to pay off his debt to them. So there's another hiking montage, and then they're canoeing down a river, and they talk about Emily's desire to prove that Sheba was queen of all of Africa, not just wherever she was queen of. Like, I don't actually know the limits of her supposed domain, but she wants to prove that it was much bigger than previously thought. When they're suddenly surrounded by hippos, Emily is all, we need to be very quiet, and maybe the hippos will ignore us. They're very aggressive. They're the most dangerous animals in Africa.
The most dangerous animals all over.
Yeah, probably. And Flynn goes, I'm going to disagree. We need to make loud and threatening noises to drive them off. And so he then starts squawking like a bird at the hippos. The hippos are immediately enraged by this. And I think that Flynn must have had a lobotomy between movies because he is just so, like, he was an annoying know-it-all in the first movie, but he was at least, like, he knew what he was talking about. He had knowledge. Here, he's just like, oh, let me yell at a bunch of hippos. That seems like the right thing to do.
I mean, maybe. I don't know enough about hippos.
No, that does not work. The hippos are attacking, and then Jomo throws some chocolate bars at the hippos, and they leave because, like, apparently hippos love chocolate.
I wonder if that's true.
I doubt it.
Google that. Do hippos like chocolate? That's a Google thing.
All right, you do that. I'll do something more important.
The rumor that hippos like chocolate are not true.
Yeah, thought so.
But apparently it's a rumor, Sam. It's an actual rumor.
Yeah, I think one movie does not make it a rumor.
Yeah, they would probably eat it, however, out of curiosity.
I mean, sure. So a dog will eat chocolate too. It doesn't mean it's going to do anything good for it.
That's certainly true.
So anyway, cut to that night. The evil guys are charging through Africa in jeeps, presumably hot on the trail of our heroes on their third walking montage of the last 5 minutes.
I was just going to say, that's a lot of hiking.
Yeah.
They really want to give you the sense that they're traveling a far distance, Sam.
Danielle, we're not even like halfway through the walking montages in this movie.
Oh, no.
Yes. So Flynn and Emily stop to rest. And Flynn finds that his childhood drawings are in his bag. His mom snuck them into his bag as he was packing to leave. And apparently that's something that she could do. Like, I don't know why he would tell her where he was going and also pack his things up at her house where she could sneak those pictures into his bag. So while they hike on, Flynn tells Emily the story about his dad and the bedtime stories he would tell Flynn and how he would draw those stories and how his dad was shot during a mugging.
Oh, that's dramatic.
It's very
untrue.
I mean, not totally untrue. Emily's like, well, it sounds like you had a good father. Mine was an angry guy who was maybe abusive, and I'm estranged from him now. So, you know, it could be worse. Which,
ouch.
Not a good way to have that conversation. Like, not here like having contests about who has the sadder father story. So now there's a dotted line traveling over a map montage.
Yay! My favorite kind.
Half of the movie is just montage that lasts for like 5 to 30 seconds at a time, broken up by brief scenes of them bickering. So they finally have found their way to Getty, and they look around and like, we gotta find Sheba's breast. What does that mean? And Flynn immediately identifies 2 round mountains. It's like, that's probably Sheba's breast. Let's head that way.
I like that it's a literal interpretation.
It's literally the dumbest clue ever. Like, no one is using any of their intelligence to solve problems. It's just like, oh, those 2 things look like breasts. All right, let's go that way. Jomo tells him, after talking to some people in the villages near the breasts, that he's learned there's a mystic shop in the next village where they can find the all-seeing eye. How convenient. Everything's just so easy in this movie. So then Flynn dismisses Jomo, saying that his debt is repaid, and they part. And it's played all bittersweet with, like, sad music. But, like, we barely spent any time with these people.
So you didn't even mention him between saying that he was in the canoe and then now.
Yeah, no. He's literally been in more montage than movie.
Well, you get to really know a guy in a montage.
So guess what happens after Jomo leaves?
They immediately need Jomo.
Nope, there's a montage. They have another montage of walking to the village where they immediately find the mystic shop, which has the logo of an eye. So I guess they specialize in all-seeing eyes, or possibly the name of the shop is the all-seeing eye. It is unclear.
Oh, you need an all-seeing eye? Go to the all-seeing eye shop.
Yeah, basically. Or, oh, this is a mystic shop called the all-seeing eye. We have all kinds of knickknacks. They knock on the door, and it opens, but guess who's there, Danielle?
Nicole.
No, the evil guy. Obviously not Nicole.
The girl that got married.
Not Deborah. She only makes one appearance, and now she's done her thing.
Oh, she's not coming back? That's sad.
I know, really sad. But anyway, it is the evil guy pretending to be the shopkeeper.
Did he probably murdered the other shopkeeper and took over his spot?
Oh, almost certainly. How did he know they were coming there? I'm guessing he maybe tortured it out of the other Mason Alakazam, but then how did he know which shop? Like, if all I got was go to the breast of Sheba and find the all-seeing eye, like, it took them using Jomo to find this place.
Okay, but if all he had to do was show up in a town after the breast and say, hey, anybody know where the all-seeing eye is? And they're like, oh yeah, it's in the next town over.
I mean, yeah, to be fair, like, I'm kind of less upset about them getting the artifacts in this one because the artifacts are not protected very well. They're behind the most half-assed clues ever and puzzles.
That's crazy.
So while talking to the shopkeeper, Flynn whips out his medallion and is like, hey.
No, why?
Yeah, he's like,
Flynn, Noah, what are you doing?
He's like, the knowledge must be passed down, or the secret must be passed down. Like, he's trying to do, like, the secret Mason phrase, because apparently he thinks this shopkeeper would also be a Mason, or has no discretion whatsoever, and has no idea. Like, again, just tells everybody all the secrets about everything. But the shopkeeper whips out his amulet, too. And so Flynn's like, oh, good. He just hands him over his half of the legend. Like, here, take my half of the legend. We're looking for the other half. Do you know where it is?
I have feelings.
How dumb he is? Yeah. He's like, oh, I was told I could find the other half of the legend here. Here's my half. Why don't you hold it for a bit? Just let me know how it feels.
Is it a real other necklace, or is it just a fake necklace?
It's definitely a real other necklace that was probably taken from either the tortured guy or the dead guy from the beginning.
What a stupid signal. They should have, like, code words and stuff, too. Why is this so hard?
And it literally says, this proves two things. A, amulets are a terrible form of identification. And B, you should have sent the half you had back for safekeeping while you got the second half.
They should have given it to a kid with some money and said, hey, mail this back to the library for us.
Works every time.
What were they thinking?
So the bad guy handles the legend for a bit, and then hands it back to Flynn. It's like, oh yes, my father, when I inherited the shop, he told me the legend was in here, but, I haven't been able to find it. Maybe you can help me find it. And Flynn's like, sure, we'll help you look for it. And then Flynn immediately finds there's a wall of reeds, and he reaches into the wall of reeds and pulls out one of his childhood drawings and the other half of the legend there. So not hidden very well.
This is dumb.
At
least the first movie tried.
Every obstacle in this movie is overcome immediately and is barely an obstacle. Like, child could do this quest. Like, they don't need a librarian. They just need, like, your childhood, like, knowledge bowl competitors to do this.
You can videotape it and watch it for a reality competition.
I mean, there was a reality competition that was, like, secrets and, like, finding clues, and those clues were much harder than these clues. Meanwhile, Emily sees more bad guys pull up in a Jeep, and then as she's going back to tell Flynn and the shopkeeper, she sees the shopkeeper is wearing combat boots and concludes she needs to knock that guy out. And so she does by smashing something over his head.
She just thinks that he's evil because he's wearing combat boots?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
So
why?
Yeah. So yeah, a couple of questions from this. One, why do the bad guys drive their Jeep up to the place now instead of, like, I don't know, being hiding there waiting for them already? And B, do combat boots automatically make someone evil? Like, that's an incredible leap in logic that she makes.
That's wild to me. I mean, they're probably a helpful form of clothing wear in that area.
Yeah, no, she's like, oh, combat boots. They look like the boots that those guys are wearing. He must be with them. Like, apparently she doesn't understand that, multiple people can buy the same boots.
That's crazy to me.
But she's the one with 25 degrees, so who am I to argue with her?
One of them must have been in combat boots.
Combat boot evil guy identification.
Fashion.
So Emily tells Flynn he's one of them, a bad guy. verbatim, that's a quote. And then they dive out a window and land on an awning to escape.
There's not like a back door they can walk out?
I mean, no, I guess not. They're on like the second floor or third floor or something.
Sure, okay.
So the bad guys start shooting indiscriminately after them as the evil bald guy gets up, but they hide in another dance celebration in the middle of the town, where they are suddenly thrust together during the dance to dance with each other, and they look into each other's eyes. They almost kiss, but then a gunshot rings out.
Yeah, you don't
by
have
the bad
to.
Guy.
Why does everything that we watch or read, Sam, have two characters that feel like they need to make out in the middle of an emergency?
No, and the gunshot rings out and they run off again. And I'm like, you don't have time for this. This is not the time for this. You're running from guys trying to shoot you while you're trying to make out in the middle of a dance. Don't be dancing even. Just keep running.
And like, why are they even attracted to each other at this point? I have seen nothing that proves that they should be attracted to each other yet.
I mean, they're both very attractive people, Danielle, but no, absolutely right.
Okay, they could be physically attracted to each other, but they're just like annoying versions of each other. No. Maybe that's why they like each other.
At this point, Flynn is trying to like mansplain and one-up Emily all the time, and she's constantly correcting him, and he's always frustrated that she seems to be getting the upper hand on him and has like been totally emasculated by her.
They're both very egotistical people.
Yeah, who put all their self-worth in their trivia knowledge. So, good people to have a relationship with.
Maybe it'll work for him, Sam. It's gotta work better than Nicole. She gave up her life for him, and he doesn't even know.
Well, it worked out great for him, just not good for her.
Oh, poor Nicole.
So they run for a train, and guess who they run into on the train platform, Danielle?
Deborah.
No, I told you, Deborah doesn't come back.
I was just hoping against hope, Sam, that you've been lying to me.
Look, how many characters have been in this movie, Danielle?
It's, what's his face? Magic guy.
Bob Newhart?
Yeah.
No, it's Uncle Jerry.
Okay, sure. I would not have got him there.
Yeah, and Uncle Jerry, he's there for like...
I forgot he existed.
Yeah, I know, right? They set that up really well. He's there because he's on some like business trip to Mombasa or something.
Yeah, as one would be.
To pick up some exports because he does export-imports.
Is he secretly evil?
Like, Danielle, it's not very secret. We'll get to this, I promise. So Flynn asks him for some help, and Jerry's like, sure, I have some cabins on the train, come on in. And they hide on the train, the bad guys chase after them, but don't get on the train in time, and Jerry identifies them as General Samir's men, a militia leader out here. And finally, we have the evil guy's name, General Samir.
Did Jerry kill his dad?
Danielle, stop. I'm not going to tell you all the secrets this movie has.
Okay.
Apparently Samir is the head of a Kenyan militia, and also, I guess, in Egypt, since he was operating there earlier.
It's just all one place, apparently, Sam.
Yeah, it's all just Africa. Like, this movie, I don't think really understands how large Africa is and how diverse it is.
Yeah, it's unlikely that this movie would at all factor that into anything.
No, it does not. Anyway, they escape on the train. Yay! That evening on the train, Flynn comes to get Emily for dinner. And as he enters her cabin, she exits the bathroom wearing like this red tube top that goes like almost like a bikini top. That's supposedly a native Maasai dress. And she's wearing this for some reason because Jerry gave it to her. And it also has like this wraparound thing over a bikini bottom. And that's apparently native garb. And also, she's the whitest British woman wearing this native garb. And the optics are bad. Like she's appropriating native dress and like, oh yeah, I can pull this off. But romantic music plays and Flynn is like super into that.
Of course he is.
Well, she's half naked, so it doesn't hurt.
They're made for each other.
At dinner, Jerry is telling a story about how when he was a kid, Flynn was arguing with and correcting Stephen Hawking. So, ha ha. Yeah. Yeah, it's not a good story. And I really wrote here, Jerry is probably evil in my notes because duh. Emily, quite drunk, returns to her cabin, and Flynn and Jerry discuss King Solomon's mine, and Flynn tells him everything. Like, Flynn has already told Jerry everything about finding the legend. It's like, what do we do next?
So this is a fourth person? This is a fourth person he's told, right? At least.
Yeah. He has to tell everybody he has a conversation with about his super secret world-saving mission.
Oh my gosh.
Because he's a moron. Like, you don't tell everyone everything about every mission because that's how you get the bad guys constantly on your trail.
He also just, he trusts people very indiscriminately.
Yeah, he's just everyone. He has no sense of discretion. So Jerry tries to talk Flynn to, abandoning the quest. Like, don't go to the King Solomon's mine. Forget about it. Come to Mombasa with me. And then they talk about Flynn's dad, possibly having a secret secret life because he was always traveling. Then Jerry ominously says, we all have our secrets, and then explains how that the amulet Flynn is wearing was not found at a thrift store like his father originally said, but was passed down from father to son for generations. Why Jerry kept this a secret from his family is anyone's guess, and why did Flynn's father keep this a secret from his family? I also don't know.
I have a question.
Please.
Didn't Nicole in the first movie, I could be making this up, didn't she say to trust nobody, not even her?
Yeah.
Like, that's an actual, like, quote from her, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Something like that.
See, I bet he would be doing better if Nicole had not disappeared from his memory.
Nicole was such a more capable adventurer than Flynn. Like, their whole dynamic was Flynn is the brains, but, like, naive and inept, and she is the competent one that will get him through dangerous situations until his brains are needed to solve whatever puzzle is before them.
Yeah, and she taught him such valuable lessons.
Right, but now it's just two brainiacs, neither of them with any skills in adventuring, and it's very apparent.
I feel like he wouldn't be telling everybody everything if he remembered Nicole's words of wisdom.
If Nicole was there, she'd be like, shut the heck up, man.
Stop telling people. What did I tell you about not trusting anybody?
Yeah, she would knock him out before she lets him blab about their mission.
I miss Nicole.
Flynn heads back to his cabin and finds Emily laying there in his bed, reading the map with the legend. Emily's all like, I assembled the map legend and translated the markings, and Flynn goes, oh yes, they discussed the Song of Solomon. I know. And she's all like, how did you know? And Flynn goes, I cracked the Akon cipher last night. And he dramatically unbuttons his jacket while saying that, like the big old flourish. This clearly arouses Emily to a degree that would almost seem preposterous. All right, so this scene, Daniel, I cannot with this scene. It's just them flirting really hard for a while. Like, Flynn dramatically throws his coat away. And Emily is all, why didn't you tell me if you cracked the cipher? If you cracked it, you don't need me anymore. And she says this while, like, pouting and, like, holding the legend to her lips and making little kissy, pouty faces on the legend. And it's like, what are you doing? She's like, I guess you don't need me anymore if you cracked the cipher.
Why do all the female characters in these movies, like, become stupid?
Yeah, no, she's 25 degrees deep, Danielle, and this is how she acts. I guess none of those degrees were in human behavior. And first, they're on a train. He wasn't going to, like, tell her to jump off the train if he'd cracked the cipher last night. And also, she seems like a pretty capable and useful companion that would be good to have around regardless. But of course, Flynn is all, I like having you around, then gets in the bed with her and is like, how do we use this legend to read the map? Then a convenient bump in the train thrusts them together in the bed, and Flynn then says, the Song of Solomon mentions kissing, doesn't it?
Ew.
And then he quotes it as, kisses sweeter than gold. And she's like, no, it's kisses sweeter than wine. And they start arguing about this, and this totally kills the mood, and Flynn jumps up angry about, like, why are you constantly correcting me? And she's like, why are you always wrong?
Good point.
Yeah, because, like, he's constantly being, like, wrong in this movie. And they argue about, like, what romance should be, and Emily does this, like, shaky undulation, like she shimmies sexily and says, romance is about music and chocolate and flowers. And I'm like, hey, cliche and boring. Get a better concept of romance there, Emily. But then this gives Flynn an aha moment. He's like, music, of course. He grabs the map and a ruler and starts drawing lines all over it at angles over the parchment saying, it's sheet music. And it's literally just like quarter notes, like modern sheet music, despite this parchment being like 5,000 plus years old. And it's like nonsense.
I like the idea that he's wrong and he just drew all over his map and now he can't read it.
It gets weirder. The legend is not like something you use to read the map. It's actually a musical instrument, like a little flute or ocarina that he assembles. And you must play the music, and that's how the legend is used to read the map.
What? No.
Yes. Buckle up, because this gets weird. So Flynn plays the music of the parchment, and magic happens. The parchment starts glowing gold, and then it morphs into a 3D, like, holographic, topographical map of a couple of mountains. And Flynn is like, oh, that's the Witch's Mountain. We know where that is. That's where the mines are. They're in that mountain. Done.
What? Why?
Because apparently bad CG mountains is enough to tell them where they are in the world and what mountain it is. Like,
they don't look like any other mountains.
I know, like, several mountains, but if you show me pictures of random mountains, I'd be like, I have no idea which mountain that is. Like, maybe that's like Mount Hood or something. I don't know. I could not tell you. But Flynn is like, yeah, I know that mountain. Let's go.
That's wild.
While Flynn is playing the music and the topographical map is happening, he's making these conclusions, Emily starts, like, panting and breathing very heavily, and is clearly just about to climax.
No.
While this is happening. And then she immediately jumps his bones.
Because she's so turned on that he's being intelligent?
He's like, sometimes, Flynn, you do impress, and then like jumps him immediately. She is like raring to go. And then the ever subtle sound of a train whistle marks the event as they cut to a commercial.
These two, man.
They're the biggest nerds. It's kind of adorable.
I'm glad they found each other, I guess. Though I still feel bad for Nicole.
Well, Nicole was way better, but apparently they couldn't afford her because she's actually a good actress or something. I don't know. So we come back from commercial with Judson appearing in the bathroom mirror, which is a power he apparently had also in the first movie. And he's like calling, hey, Flynn, where are you? And the post-coital Flynn appears and enters the bathroom, and Judson is all, you have the map and the legend. Good, job's done. Head back on the first plane to the library. Let's do it. We're done. Let's wrap this up. But Flynn is all like, I'm not coming home. I'm going to the mines. And like, why? Why are you going, man? Stop it. Just take the stuff back to the museum and be done with this.
Then there'd be no movie, Sam.
Yeah, but like, it'd be a smarter movie.
Yes, no disagreement.
Flynn just insists that he has to go, despite it being clearly the least responsible choice, and Judson reminds him that he sometimes must give up what he wants for the greater good. And then Flynn just covers the mirror in shaving cream because he's a child.
Oh, Flynn Noah, you were better than this.
He is clearly not. So Flynn and Emily depart the train the next morning, despite Uncle Jerry's insistence that they should just give up on the treasure hunt and leave it to the professionals. Guess what time it is, Danielle?
Deborah time?
Nope. It's hiking montage time!
Woo! That was my second guess.
Another hiking montage. Flynn then finds a weird Balboa tree, and he's like, wait, I've seen this before. I've been here before. In my father's bedtime stories, I drew this. This is what he was talking about. And so he starts like whipping out all the pages from his like childhood drawings. They all correspond to things you're seeing along the trail. It's like, he knew one day I would be here. He was trying to prepare me for it. And I'm like, what? Why? That's not a thing.
So which mountain, Witch's Mountain, whatever, is in Africa?
Yes.
Why? Okay. If you're going through the trouble of hiding two things.
In Kenya still.
In like two completely different places. You've split up this map thing in two different places. And then the end result is in the same place as the second piece of the map.
I don't know, Danielle. Like,
why wouldn't you just have it a completely separate? Why wouldn't it be in Sweden or something?
Well, I don't know if King Solomon's empire extended to Sweden, but maybe, modern day Iran or something, Persia, whatever.
Well, I don't understand why you wouldn't. But yeah, but you can separate the legends.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why wouldn't one of the map pieces could have been in Persia or something?
Yeah, why? Why would they be within walking distance of the mines?
Well, train distance, Danielle.
Okay, whatever. Within easy traveling distance, you think that you would separate the heck out of those three things?
To be fair, Danielle, I don't know how much time has passed. Like, the traveling montages could be years. Who knows?
It took years to get across Africa.
I mean, it would by walking. Anyway, so they come to the Balboa tree, and Flynn immediately finds a secret lever on the tree that opens a secret door in the ground, and they climb down the mountain. So, like, that was all you needed. All you had to do was pull the right lever on this tree, and you could enter. Like, there was no security.
They didn't even need Flynnoa. They could have just done this all on their own.
Yeah, if the eel guys had gotten to that tree before Flynn, they could have, like, pulled the lever. Dunzo. So they're in an underground passage filled with vampire bats, which Flynn just hates. It's like his version of Indiana Jones' the Snakes.
I was just going to say that.
Yep. They find a very thin stone bridge with no rails that crosses a chasm filled with lava. Or if they're still underground, is it still magma? I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that, but I like that it's underground.
Yeah, when they're in the caves, they're in the mountain.
No, I just meant that there's like lava river flow underground. It seems very dramatic.
Yeah. There's so much lava in this part of the movie, Danielle. It's ridiculous. And I wrote this note down just because I knew you'd appreciate it. As they crossed the bridge, the captions read, daunting music.
I do love musical cues in subtitles.
There's a lot of good ones in this movie, Danielle. You might like it.
I laugh a lot at those. It's one of my favorite things about subtitles.
I know. I hear about it all the time.
I know. They're funny. Like that. That's funny.
So the other side, they find a very small chamber with a statue of Solomon, but no treasure or book. And they're both like very disappointed. And Flynn's like, what is this? Where's the treasure? But then Flynn pulls out his childhood drawing and it shows the statue of Solomon and it shows a like heart, like it highlights a part of the statue above Solomon's heart. And Flynn goes up to the statue and takes his amulet of the Mason symbol and fits it into the statue. And it opens another secret door.
Woo! That was like the most difficult part of this entire quest right there.
Yeah, but also they should have expected another secret door. There's like a secret door in every other room.
So again, if he hadn't done that, he wouldn't be able to get in there and they would never have found the thing.
Most likely, yes. Like, I'm telling you, most of this is his fault.
Yeah, because he has, like, insider knowledge.
If he had taken Judson's advice and headed back when he had the legend and the map and all the pieces, they could have avoided all of this.
Dumb.
So this leads to another cave filled with jewels and gold, and Emily immediately picks up the original Book of Genesis, just like with no gloves or anything, just manhandles it, bare hands this Book of Genesis. Like, isn't she supposed to be an archeologist or something? Like, is she supposed to, like, know how to handle ancient, delicate artifacts properly? But no. Flynn also then manhandles the original Dead Sea Scrolls because, great, good job.
Flynn is rubbing off on her, and not in a good way.
Emily is then taken by a statue of Sheba in the chamber, while Flynn grabs the Key of Solomon, the book, off a pedestal. He opens the pages, and the pages start to glow with magic, and the magic starts to flow into his hand. Emily sees this and, like, snaps him out of the trance it was casting over him, and he closes the book. And they turn around, and guess who's there, Danielle?
Deborah.
Yes, Danielle, it's Deborah. It's Deborah the dragon.
Jerry.
You're absolutely right. It's the dragon. It's the evil guy. Evil Baldy, General Samir, sitting there.
I figured it was the dragon. That was what my real thought was.
Yeah, the dragon Deborah. He demands they give him the book, and then he's like, oh, you won't give it to me? They call her his henchman and henchwoman, still in leather, in Africa. Love it. I wish we had more about her. She is nowhere near as interesting as the female villain in the first movie because they give her so little to do, but she is way more interesting than anyone else in this movie. And they're dragging with them Uncle Jerry, whom they've captured.
But he's secretly evil, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, guaranteed. So the bad guy starts beating Jerry until Flynn agrees to give him the book. Jerry immediately is all like, sorry, Flynn, thanks for the book. They all work for me. And so he is evil. Oh, that was quick.
I feel like they could have done that without any of that. Jerry just could have said, hey, can I look at the book? And stolen it and run off.
Right, yeah. Like, well, why would Jerry be in there? Like, they'd be suspicious of that.
No, but later, I mean, like, we could have met.
What do you mean later?
He could have met them later through some weird coincidence and then just stolen the book. It wouldn't have been that hard.
Or wait from the outside. I don't know. I think he said he was going to Mombasa. So they might be suspicious of what he was doing there. But the point is,
I don't think they would be. They're not that smart.
Don't argue with results. It worked.
It did work. Sorry.
And so then, unprompted, Jerry starts monologuing.
Yay! The best part.
Oh, yeah. He tells Flynn that he was the one who shot and killed his dad, because of course he was, because his dad wouldn't tell him where the mines were. Also, Jerry hated his dad because he managed to steal Flynn's mom first. Like, he stole, quote unquote, Flynn's mom from him.
As an object.
Well, like, apparently he made the first move, and now Jerry's like, he's stolen the woman I love. He has the family I should have had. He had everything I should have had, and I hated him for it. So Jerry's big plan here, his whole motivation is to use the book to bend space-time, to rewrite history, so he can end up with Flynn's mom and have the family and life that Flynn's dad had.
Okay, question. Flynn's dad has been dead since he was 8-ish years old, and
sure. I don't know if that's exactly
sure,
right. Could have been older or younger.
But he's had all this time to seduce his mom.
No, never bothered.
But
she
he literally could have had the same life he wants.
I have in my notes, Danielle, this is one of the dumber villain motivations. Like, I was romantically spurned, so I must bend space and time. Like, dude, move on.
For only a few years. He was romantically spurned for a few years.
And, like, also, even if it was 10 years or whatever, or 12 years with the woman, he could, like, find someone else. Like, no offense, but there's no single person in the world who is worth that much agonizing over.
Yeah, that's wild, man.
Jerry then says out of nowhere, the incantation must be read in a special chamber here in the mines, but you're going to miss it. So sad. And I'm like, why? Why tell Flynn what you're doing? Also, why must the incantation be read in a special chamber in the mines if the mines were built after the book was made to house the book and keep it safe from being used? Like, was it a chicken and egg thing where, like, they wrote the book like, oh, we'll write this spell, but it won't be useful until they build a mines in the future to hold this book?
Well, now we know why they built the mines, Sam, instead of just using the other tomb thing.
Maybe. It's very dumb.
And they're like, dang it, now we have to build the mines.
So Jerry tells Samir to kill them, but instead of shooting them, Samir says it'd be more fun to lock them in a room, a cylindrical room that's slowly filling with water to drown them.
Somebody's a sociopath.
Yeah. Well, obviously. But also, A, how does Samir know that this death room was in the mine? And B, why is there a death room in this mine?
To murder people trying to use the spell and incantation for evil, Sam, obviously.
Except it's just a random room that only has one purpose, which is a murder. It's dumb. It's very dumb. And why do villains always do this? Just shoot and be done with it. I hate it.
You tell them.
So Flynn and Emily start panicking and banging on the walls, yelling for help, while in another room that's primarily made of bad CG lava and other CG, Jerry is reading from the book Spells Be Happening as magic and sound effects and mystical noises occur. Back in the death room, the water's up to their necks, and the ceiling, which is covered in spikes, starts ascending towards them, which, just seems redundant. Like, you're overdoing your death room now.
That's such a hardcore death room.
I know. It's like, we're going to drown you, and then we're going to crush you.
Where's the water coming from in the desert?
There are little spouts in the walls that spray out.
Is there just, like a water tank back there somewhere?
Danielle, again, who built the death room? It was like, this is what they used exactly once.
It's another aqueduct.
Another aqueduct, yeah. The aqueduct from Morocco made its way down to Kenya and is filling this place up.
You have no proof to the contrary.
Sure. So Flynn's like, there's a grate in the floor here. I'm going to swim down there and try to pry it up. And so he takes a deep breath, dives under the water, try to pull the grate loose.
So he's known that that's there the entire time?
They tried to pull it first. When they first got in the room, they tried to pry it up, and it wasn't budging.
Okay. So now he just thinks maybe it would. Okay.
He's like, I got nothing. Look, we're out of options. Let me try again. But then Flynn appears to drown immediately. Like, he runs out of breath. I literally, you know how in movies you see, like, if you try to hold your breath as long as the people are underwater in movies, you die? In this movie, I tried that, and it's like, wait, he's already unconscious? It was like 5 seconds in. It was not a problem. He has the lung capacity of a small child.
I have the lung capacity of a small child.
He has less lung capacity than you did, though.
It's really,
he literally
I don't
passes
know why.
out.
It's super impressive for somebody who's swam a lot in their lives.
I don't want to tell you, Danielle, but I guarantee if you watched the movie and tried to hold your breath during the scene, you would succeed. You would beat Flynn in this contest.
Yes, I'm not going to watch it because I really do need to feel more superior to the people in movies with swimming.
Yeah, all right. So he passes out, and like there's a white light, and we clearly go into his like mind as there's a vision he's having. So Flynn is walking on a beach in a white suit towards Judson, who is also in a white suit and flying a kite.
Yay!
Flynn asks Judson, "Am I dead?" And Judson responds, "Do you want to be?" And he shakes his head, and he's like, "No? Well, then you're not dead."
Oh, is that how it works?
According to Judson, it is. Judson explains that only Flynn can protect the secrets of Solomon. It's his legacy to follow in his father's footsteps. And I'm like, wait, he's doing the exact opposite of protecting these secrets, Judson. Have you not been watching this movie?
Yeah, he's like literally led them to it.
Yeah. Flynn says he doesn't understand, and Judson's like, "Nah, you will," and then leaves it at that and does not explain anything.
Sounds like a dream.
He then passes him the kite and asks Flynn to do something for him. He's like, "Flynn, I need you to do something for me.
Call the wind.
Open your eyes." And Flynn opens his eyes and we flash back to Flynn, who's lying on a floor, spitting up water. Emily's there also wet. And guess who else is there, Danielle? Deborah!
Deborah?
No, it's not Deborah. It's Jomo. Jomo's there.
Jomo? Isn't he in a completely different part of Africa?
I mean, he was in Kenya with them, but they left him back at a village before getting on the train.
Yeah, like, did he walk there?
Danielle, I do not know how Jomo teleported to this place, but he is there.
I imagine he must have just followed along and said, "Hey, did anybody talk to that guy? Did he tell you where he's going?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, he's going this way." Because he tells everybody where he's going.
Jomo was there, who somehow both followed them and then saved them from the death room, which apparently was unguarded. No one was like in there watching to make sure they died because
it's a death room, Sam. Obviously, it's gonna it's just he got a lot of joy out of the fact that they were gonna die slow deaths. He didn't actually need to watch it.
Sure. Either way, it's done, but Jomo saves the day. Back in the CGI room, Jerry continues reading from the book and he's chanting in like ancient Hebrew Arabic sounding language as our three heroes sneak in. Flynn identifies incantation as one that will allow the dead to rise, and if they enter the flame on the altar in the middle of the room, it's very bad. I don't know how this relates to time travel, but you are. I should also mention that as Jerry's reading from this book, he'll just randomly switch to English at times. I don't know why.
Because that English is in that 5,000-year-old book, Sam.
So while Flynn and Emily discuss strategy, Jomo jumps straight down to the room, starts knocking out guards. Emily and Flynn join in, and they defeat the trained militiamen, who I guess forgot they had guns, all except for Samir, who laments, "I should have shot you when I had the chance," which, yes, you should have, but also, in pausing to deliver that quip, he lets Emily bash him on the head again, and he loses the gun. So, good job, loser.
He deserves it.
Flynn runs to get the book from Jerry, but is accosted by one last guard and is delayed long enough for Jerry to make progress, where visions of the past with Flynn's mom dancing with Flynn's dad appear in a pool of lava, while crypts around the room start glowing white.
I look that he's going to change. He has gotten this like general and all these people together specifically just to change his own very personal past.
Yeah, it's all about his romantic history, Danielle. This is literally the only reason this whole movie is happening. It isn't like in the previous movie where the evil Order of the Snake was trying to like, you know, be the new librarian and use the artifacts because they thought that the power should be used to make them the top of the hierarchy instead of being secreted and guarded away while the normies rule. No, this is just, I feel like I should have slept with her. And so I'm gonna bend space and time and all these people to get my bone on.
And then people like agreed with him and joined into his cause. Wild. Yeah,
like if I was General Samir, I'm like, maybe he didn't know, he was just being paid. But once I knew, like, oh, this is what this is about? Oh, I am out.
Like, I've gotten enough money, thanks.
Meanwhile, Samir's run off to some random chamber for whatever reason. He fled from Noah, Jomo, and Emily, and he flicks on a light to see, and Emily has followed him for some reason and is about to bash him again when she notices a sconce on the wall filled with a strange liquid. Emily takes the sconce and douses Samir in the liquid, which apparently is flammable, and so he bursts into flames just immediately.
That's a really terrible way to die.
Oh, it gets worse than that. As he ignites, apparently the lights attract the vampire bats who swarm his flaming body, like eating him or something. And like, I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
I don't think the bats would go to the flames.
They would. They'd be like, why would a bat throw itself onto a flaming body? Like, hey, vampire bats aren't like, you know, meat. They're not cannibals. They lick blood from the wounds they bite in cows and stuff. They don't like drain you like an actual vampire. They don't eat you like locusts or piranhas.
This is just giving an entire generation of people a fear of bats that is not well founded.
But yeah, no, it's a very gruesome flaming bat death.
Which really belongs to Jerry, not to Samir.
Yeah, Samir, I mean, he tortures and kills people, so he's also bad, but like, he's not the ringleader here. So anyway, Jerry continues to read, and Flynn climbs up to the ledge where Jerry is, but not before a spooky ghost start rising from the crypts and head towards the flames of the altar. But one pretty lady ghost goes up to Flynn instead before she pulls a spooky face to scare him. While all that's happening, Jerry completes the incantation, his eyes start glowing red. I'll tell you right now, Danielle, that is the extent of the power he has accumulated from King Solomon's book. It's red eyes.
And time travel, Sam.
Nope. Flynn gets to him finally and knocks the book out of his hand, so all he has is the glowing eyes.
Now he's just possessed.
They start to fight by swinging some like random metal poles they each found. Like they're poles, kind of like flag poles where there's like an eagle or something with wings raised and spread above their head. And this is important because as they're fighting, sparks are flying out of the poles when they collide like they're lightsabers or something. And then Flynn's pole between the wings, like a taser spark ignites. It's like a taser now between the wings of the bird on the pole.
Why?
And I don't know, because he doesn't actually use it. He just knocks away Jerry's pole and like threatens him with the spark, like, stay back.
You should have tased him.
And he disarms Jerry and like threatens to throw the book into the lava. As he's about to throw the book into the lava, Jerry pulls the old, hey, don't do it. You should join me. You could use the book. You could use the power for anything you want. You could use it to see your father again.
The father that I'm going to rewrite history for.
Right. The guy I hate and I'm clearly conniving to murder. You could use the book to see him again. I'm clearly trying to help you, Flynn. I'm on your side now. Danielle.
He wavers.
This works. He doesn't waver. He pauses. He opens the book and he starts reading from the book. He's like, yeah, you got me, Jerry. I'm on board. Let's do this.
Oh my God.
Let's bring my father back.
How is he the librarian?
Like he's literally like reading from the book and Jerry's like, yeah, do it, Flynn, do it. I'm like, Jerry, maybe while he's distracted by doing this, you should knock the book out of his hands and steal it back because you don't want his father back.
Wild.
And so Flynn is reading from the book. The fire in the middle of the chamber on the altar grows big, and a person, a shape, a figure made of fire starts to emerge. And Flynn just like went evil so easily. It took no cajoling from Jerry to turn Flynn to like, yeah, I'm gonna use this power for myself.
This is wild.
Emily rushes in and is all like, Flynn, what are you doing? He ignores her. But then a beam of light traces its way up his chest and gets into his eyes and like distracts him. He's like, oh, what am I doing? And what happened was Emily had been using the jewel in the staff she was carrying, the scepter she was carrying, to like reflect a light beam into his face. You know, like when you prank your brother or something and annoy them with your watch. But like where this beam of light come from that she was reflecting, I don't know. But it's enough to break Flynn out of his spell. And he's like, oh no, what am I doing?
She was reflecting firelight?
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
There's no sun down there, right?
They're underground, so no. Jerry is all, no, don't stop. Don't you want to be with your father? And like, dude, you hated his dad. How does this help you? Just snatch the book. But no, Flynn throws the book into the lava and Jerry dives in after it and both are consumed with some very CG lava.
Why would Jerry dive in after it?
Because he wants the book. And here's the part that gets wild.
Even if you grabbed it, you would fall into the lava.
Danielle, I cannot explain Jerry. I cannot explain anything Jerry has done in this movie. As the book is destroyed in the lava, the whole chamber, the whole mine start like collapsing, and exploding. Like literal explosions start occurring. I'm like, who booby-trapped this place with gunpowder to explode if the book was destroyed?
Magical explosion, Sam.
Flynn jumps off the platform just as an explosion happens behind him. And it's clear he's jumping in front of a very green screen explosion. And it's very funny.
Does Emily die?
So Emily and Jomo and they all race out of the mountain safely while the whole mountain, like, it takes the top of the mountain, it like blows clean off. And again, I don't know why they rigged the mines to explode. Like, why would you do that?
Does Jomo ever explain why he's there?
No, never. I think he's there. He mentions like, I finally repaid my debt to you. Like, even though he clearly sees them from the hippos earlier and that repaid his debt. So I don't know.
He's just very serious about his debt, Sam.
All right, we're wrapping up here. Flynn is saying goodbye to Jomo at an airport. Maybe the airport in Morocco? I don't know, just an airport. And there's like an announcement like the plane to New York is leaving. And Flynn gives Jomo the amulet and is all, I can't think of anyone I'd rather have protecting King Solomon's secret than you. And I'm like, dude, you threw the book into lava and literally exploded the mountain. What secret is left to protect?
There is no secret.
The secret is, we blew everything up. Sorry, world. Anyway, Flynn is in a trench coat. Emily comes up in a white dress. I think this is supposed to be a Casablanca reference, like, as they walk towards some Cessna planes parked on the runway. Mm-hmm. Emily tells Flynn, hey, I'm not going to New York with you. I'm going to Tunisia instead, since there's a dig there that found some shards of pottery that could link to Sheba. I want to go investigate that. And a couple of things. First, can anyone just go up to any dig and be like, hey, I'm working this dig now. Get out of my way, buddy. And also, none of those single-engine planes would ever carry them either to New York or to Tunisia. I mean, nonsense.
I was wondering where they were going in the planes. I was like, that won't get them very far.
I mean, maybe they're taking this a short hop to another plane, like a connecting flight or something.
Yeah,
but
to a bigger airport.
I like to imagine Flynn in a Cessna over the Atlantic. Anyway, Flynn is sad to see her go, and they bicker about who's worse at saying goodbyes before they kiss and they part, and piano music plays as Flynn quotes Casablanca, and we fade in back to New York. Flynn enters the library. Charlene tells Flynn his mother called, furious about him getting married without telling her because, duh. But Flynn heads downstairs to the vault and runs into Judson. Flynn tells Judson, hey, you know that stuff you sent me to go get? I destroyed everything, all of it. The book's gone, blew everything up. And Judson says, well, Flynn, that was your great sacrifice. You gave up what you wanted for the greater good. I'm like, wait,
no, he didn't.
What? Yeah. No, if he had left the train without going to the mines in the first place, that would have been giving up what he wanted to do.
I assume they mean giving up his dad. But Judson doesn't know any of that, right?
He does. He absolutely knows.
How does he know? Was he there?
Because he knows everything. We're about to get something very weird here.
Okay. Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah, there's more. Flynn then asks Judson why he didn't tell him about his father, and Judson just says, it's a lesson you had to learn for yourself, which is nonsense.
No, it's not.
Flynn then tells him about his beach vision, asks if Judson made himself appear in his vision, and like, can you do that? And Judson's like, Flynn, I have a lot of power, but I can't do that. I can't appear in a vision with a kite. And Flynn's like, I didn't tell you there was a kite. And then like music swells as they go off. He's like, tell me about how they did this. And they go off bickering into the halls. And then Excalibur zooms in, flies around the screen, slashes the screen open as the credits appear through the slash. The end.
I can only assume that Judson is actually Mr. Sunshine. From Fool on the Hill.
It's possible.
I mean, the kite reference really sells it for me, and that he seems to know everything that's happening.
So there you go, Danielle. The Librarian 2 Electric Spiraloo. Return to King Solomon's Mine. I still don't know why it was the return to King Solomon's Mine. Did his father go there? Unclear.
That's a crazy story, Sam.
It's an amazing story where nothing happened, and also it took forever to have nothing happen, and it was crazy how every nothing happened.
I'm disappointed in how little Flynn does in that movie.
He is useless. Like, an elementary schooler could have solved these puzzles, quote unquote. Yeah. Like, the only thing that he had going for him was a passport.
He, like, just is a vehicle for the plot to happen in this one instead of actually, like, the thing that's pushing the plot forward.
Yeah, he has, like, he does all stupid stuff in the first movie and totally enables the bad guy's almost victory. But at least he's, like, making decisions and thinking through puzzles and solving things. I mean, it's all very, like, wishy-washy because it happens on movie time, which is, like, very short periods of time. But at least it's, like, believable. Like, oh, yeah, he's putting his brain to work. Here, it's like, oh, a guy literally told you where to go. Oh, a magic map told you where to go. Like, there's no puzzle solving here. Wild. And also, movie's mostly montage. I can't get over that. There's so many montages in this movie.
Hey, you said it was 90 minutes, right?
It's 90 minutes, and, like, there are at least, like, I lost track, but there are, like, 8 montages that, like, they're all, like, 5 to 30 seconds at a time, and they're interspersed, like, one little scene of them quipping, and then goes back to a montage.
You think they could have cut out one montage to tell us what happened to Nicole?
She's irrelevant, Danielle. She no longer exists. This universe has been wiped clean of Nicole.
I really want to watch the time traveling ninja movie.
That would be so much cooler, right? I just want to say a big old crossover between Stargate, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and this.
I'd watch that.
I'd watch the heck out of that.
It'd be good. I think a lot of people would watch that.
If you watch nothing in this movie, Danielle, you should watch the death scene so you can test your underwater breathing prowess.
I will, definitely.
Also, if you want to watch them as extremely uncomfortable, watch their 4D scene in the car. It's hilarious.
Love a good uncomfortable scene.
Anyway, I think this would be a fun, like, Sunday afternoon watch when you're like, oh, let me turn my brain off and watch some attractive, charming people quip around the world. Like, it's a fun movie like that.
It's a winner. I'm glad you brought him back. I mean, I'm always up for a Noah Wyle film of any sort.
Well, be careful what you wish for, Danielle.
Or Flynnoa. I mean, I'll take him too.
I may seek out more of his work, and you may be surprised by what I find.
Like Nick Cage. We could just have a running tally.
Yeah, Noah Wyle. Well, any last questions, Danielle, about this movie?
No, I think you've really answered everything that you could possibly answer.
I thought way too hard about this movie, Danielle. For a movie that was, like, very much does not want you to think about it in the least, I thought way too hard about it.
It's a movie, as you would say, Sam.
What I want to hear from our listeners, though, is their theory on what happened to Nicole. And we've put forward our erase from history theory, but I think our listeners come up with some more creative solutions to that problem. I
think that was a pretty solid solution. I'm quite proud of that one for you, Sam. But yes, I would love to hear other solutions from our listeners, especially if it ties in well to the Librarian franchise.
Yeah, like I haven't watched the third movie or the TV show, but if you can manage to tie it into all of those, I mean, chef's kiss.
If you can tie it into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time,
and or Stargate,
or Legend, our previous book, just feel free.
We're trying to start the Book Retorts cinematic universe. We need to tie everything together.
We kind of already have one, and we are definitely exploring that option.
We're so sorry. But if you have any of those ideas, you can send them to us at bookretorts.com.
You can also tweet, Instagram, or Facebook us at bookretorts.
And if you like this nonsense and want more of it, you can support us at patreon.com/bookretorts.
Patreon!
And until next time, if you stumble across a super powerful artifact, maybe just lock it up someplace safe and call it a day.
Yeah, that would have solved this movie in about 20 minutes. As always.
As always. Until then, bye.
Take care, everybody.
You've gotten robot, Danielle.
That's not my fault. I am a robot.
It's Skype's fault.
Danielle is a robot. She likes robot food.
Pray tell Danielle the robot, what is robot food?
Nuts.
Go to hell. Let's restart Skype and get your voice fixed.